Hello and welcome back to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. I'm Tawny Ray.
And I'm Felicia Connor.
And today we are joined by a super special, awesome guest, Michael from the We Love Horror podcast.
Woo!
Yay!
Hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
Good. Thank you for joining
good.
us.
I'm so freaking stoked for this. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, I've been literally like counting down the days until we can record together because I feel like we've been like video chatting like back and forth quite often lately. And it's just like made me so excited to get on this show with you and talk to you guys about this movie that we're talking about today. So I'm very, very excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We're stoked too. This will be a great discussion. And so on that note, the movie that we're going to be talking about is Jennifer's Body.
Yes.
The 2009 horror comedy. Awesome movie. Lots to talk about. So while we're just kind of on the subject of the movie itself, Michael, you picked this movie. You chose this to come on and talk about it. So why don't you tell us about why you chose this movie?
I chose this movie just because I feel like it's had such a interesting history, and I kind of wanted to talk about that as well as talk about what a great film it is. But I also thought it would be an interesting kind of conversation for the three of us to have, because I just feel like this film has gone through so many ups and downs, and now I feel like it's considered a classic among many horror fans, but it didn't always start that way. And like me personally, I've loved this film from the first time I watched it. Like I love this film. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a masterpiece, but as far as horror films go, I think this film is like so much fun. I can like literally pop this on any time of the day, any day if I wanted to. Like, I'm always in the mood for this film. Like, there's never a time when I'm not. So I don't know. I just thought it would be really fun to talk about this film, and I'm really excited that you guys were on board to do it. So
yeah, I'm excited too. Thank you for bringing it to us. So next, why don't you tell us and just plug, and we want to know all about your podcast and how you got started podcasting.
Ooh, okay. So I'm Michael from the We Love Horror podcast, as Tawny said at the beginning. And I am just a weekly horror podcast. I just release episodes weekly, and I have a different guest on every week, which is really fun. I used to have a guest host, but due to, time constrictions and stuff like that, he was not able to continue with the podcast. But I think in a lot of ways that kind of opened a lot of opportunities up for this podcast to grow further. So it's just been really fun for me to have different people on every week, because it's just different discussions, different, I think different viewpoints, different, opinions on things. So it just makes it more interesting, I think. And then I also do a weekly voting poll. So I let people vote for which movie they want to listen to that week, which I think is a really fun, kind of thing to add to the podcast. But yeah, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, honestly. And you can find me on Instagram at We Love Horror Podcast. And you can email me at welovehorrorpod@gmail.com. So yeah, check me out if you guys are interested. So
How did you like start the podcast? Like, what was the inception of that?
So I really wanted to I've always loved horror movies. I've always, I grew up on horror. And I don't know, I loved sharing my love of horror with people, but I don't have a lot of friends out there that love horror movies as much as I do. So it was more so just like a way for me to, discuss my favorite horror films, my love of film also in general, because I'm a really huge film buff as well. So it was a great way for me to like put myself out there and share my love of horror to the world. And so far it's been really, really fun. It's been exciting. I've met some amazing people, you and Felicia included. Like, it's just been this past year has just been so much fun, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So
awesome. Now you have a gigantic group of friends who love horror.
yes. It's like we have like a big, huge horror family, and I love it. I love it. And I didn't realize how many people were out there. Like, there's so many like horror lovers out there, and it's insane how many people I've met like on social media and stuff, and like people that listen to the podcast. I'm like, holy cow, there's so many of you out there. So it's awesome. I love it.
Something else that we want to know. We would love to know, what is your favorite and least favorite genre of horror movie?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to say I think my favorite genre would have to be the supernatural genre, just because I just feel like there's so much you can do with that genre. You can suspend your belief with that genre. Like, you can just do anything with it. Like, you can go into a horror movie that's a supernatural horror film and know that like crazy shit is going to happen. And it's like, it's not like a normal movie that you watch and you're like, that would never happen in real life. You can go into a supernatural movie and be like, that's possible because it's a supernatural film, if that makes any sense at all. But
Yeah.
I think those were the films that I was introduced to first. Like, when I first got into horror movies, I think supernatural films were the first ones that I originally got into. So I've always had a love for them. I think they're probably the scariest ones. I think are we counting possession films as like part of the supernatural genre? Because I think I would.
I do.
Okay. Yeah, because I love possession films. I love all those kind of films. I think they're terrifying. So my least favorite, that's a hard one. Because I don't know if I have like a least favorite. I'd probably have to say, I don't know. I guess it sounds hypocritical for me to say this, but I guess like artsy type of horror films that like,
Okay.
because I love Ari Aster. I would consider his films more like on the artsy side, but films like Mother wasn't a big fan of. Like those super over the top artsy films that are like, I'm all for like the art of it, but like as far as an enjoyability standpoint, like I can't sit there and watch a movie like that for, unless I'm really engaged with it. So I'd have to say like artsy type of horror films, like the ones that just like go all over the place and you're just kind of like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, like art house type. Have you seen In Fabric?
I have not, no.
Don't do it. Don't. Because I am also like not a huge fan of this sometimes, and I did not enjoy it. It was fucking weird. Like, and just weird for the sake of being weird. Like, I like shit that's like crazy, but it has like a deeper meaning. But this felt very not that to me.
It's just, I think that they can be somewhat kind of pretentious in a way, and there's a lot of what's the word? Quality, but there's not any substance. Like with some of these films, like the films look great, don't get me wrong. Like there's these films that look amazing on, from a technical standpoint, but the plot and the story is just kind of like all over the place. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of films that don't have like a deeper meaning, I guess. Like there's films that I can watch that I can shut my brain off for 2 hours and just enjoy it. But, like with Ari Aster, for example, like his films I would consider art house, as I said before, but like he has a plot. There's like a meaning to it. Like these films look great, but they're also, they have a lot of substance. So I don't know. without me sounding like a pretentious asshole, like I just feel like, I would have to say that was probably my least favorite genre. So,
I used to say that horror comedy was my least favorite, but I've seen so many that I've actually liking. What's the genre of, like, I don't like Hellraiser. Or just like gore, just gore for the sake of gore. And that's what I don't like. What is that? Is that
torture porn?
Torture porn, yeah.
I think
splatter.
That would be my least favorite without not knowing too much. But I just, Hellraiser, I remember seeing that. I remember there's this guy that I dated for a hot second, and he was like, "Oh, this is my favorite book, read it." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is disgusting." And then he wanted me to watch the movie, and I'm like, I don't like this at all. I don't mind a lot of blood and stuff. That was not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that.
Not your cup of tea.
Nah.
Yeah, I get that, but I do think I do enjoy some of these movies. And so it depends. I don't like that if they don't have substance, but if they feel like they have substance, like Hostel is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I love, love, love that movie, but it's scary and real world scary.
Yeah, I hate to say I don't like a specific genre because it's really hard. Because what's Saw? Would that be considered?
I think the first one would be more of like a psychological. I mean, it does have blood and gore in it, but I think the ones that happened after that I would consider, I don't know if I'd consider them torture porn exactly, because it's not like there's like a lot of like nudity in these films. I don't think, is there any nudity at all in the Saw films?
Oh, I didn't even think that torture porn related to actual nudity. I thought it was just straight torture, blood, guts. So in that way, I've always thought the Saw franchise after the first movie is the best example of torture porn because it literally is a bunch of people being tortured.
That's true. I guess I took the literal
the porn part,
term.
the porn.
Took it literally and was like, well, maybe to some people this is porn. Like torture is porn to some people, which is I didn't even.
Well, shit. I don't even know what I don't like anymore. So I'm just gonna have to do some more research.
I think that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I'm definitely, I used to say the same thing. Horror comedy is probably my least favorite. And I think that's probably still true to some degree, but sometimes I come across some of these horror comedies and I really like them. So I'm like, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I think the best example of a horror comedy that I wasn't a huge fan of was the Halloween 2018, because I just felt like there were moments in that film that I was just like, why did you have to insert this comedic moment in here? You completely took away all sorts of any sort of like tension that this scene had. You took it away by making something that didn't even need to be funny. I don't know. That's just an example of like, a horror comedy that tried to be horror and comedy that just didn't work for me.
You know what? Yes, with the horror comedy, maybe it'll still stay that way because there are some that I really do love the movie, but they have to be really good at it. They have to be good at delivering those lines. It has to be really almost perfect for me to like it.
Like Jennifer's Body, for example. I think this is the perfect example of a film that does it perfectly. Like you've got some scary moments, you've got some like blood and gore, but it's so fucking funny. Like in the best way though. Like there's like I feel like they take their time with balancing the funny with the scary stuff. So I don't feel like there's ever a scene where it doesn't feel off balance, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah. And we don't even like ever dive into these other movies, Felicia, that are like, you know what, honestly, I don't know what to call this subgenre, but this is probably my least favorite subgenre, is like the campy ass, like Thanksgiving comedy, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Honestly, I've never even seen that movie, so I don't know what it's like. But I don't like those movies that are trying to be so like funny and out there.
Me neither.
So in that way, I feel like those slot into horror comedy, and like that shit is my least favorite. I don't want to watch any of those.
Yeah, because they get to a point where they're just so cheesy, it's not even fun to watch them anymore.
Cheesy. I don't like cheesy horror. There we go. That's the genre I don't like.
Horror.
Cheesy horror.
80s B horror type of shit.
Yes. I am just not a fan, and I know so many people are, and I know this like blasphemy, but that's where I land. Sorry, that was a whole digression into that. But
Tawny Ray, for this question, what are your favorite horrors? Do we want to know like the horror that's out there? What's your favorite, or what scares you the most? Is that
okay? That's not what I intended.
Okay.
But let's run with that. What are you, Michael, what are you afraid of in real life?
Ooh, well, I hate to admit it, but I'm still terrified of the dark. Like, I have this fear of, like, if I'm home alone and there's, like, any open doors in the house, like, leading into a dark bedroom, and I can't see what's in that bedroom, I have this habit of closing all the doors in the house because I'm like, I don't like that idea of feeling like there's something in there that can see me, but I can't see whatever's in there. So it's like, I will literally go around the house if, like, there's any open doors where there's, like, any black space behind it, any whatsoever, I will shut those doors because it freaks me out, like, walking back past an open door in a hallway when it's pitch black in there and feeling like something's in there that's gonna, like, pop out and grab me or something. So that's like one of my like irrational fears for some reason, but I've always been like terrified of the dark. So like even now I sleep with my TV on because I have to have some sort of light in my room. Like the only time I can ever sleep in a pitch black room is if I have somebody else sleeping in there with me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like spiders, obviously. Terrified of spiders. I don't fuck with spiders.
Dude, those poor little guys.
Yeah.
They get a bad rap.
They're probably just like, I'm just chilling. Why is everyone freaking out?
Right. Yeah, and I will literally stand on the table like a little fucking girl, be like, somebody kill that thing. I'm not coming down until somebody kills it. Like, it's the worst.
Whenever I take a shower, if it happens, like when you're washing your hair or whatever, sometimes you lose hair. Everybody sheds or whatever. If I feel anything on my leg, I think immediately brings me back to arachnophobia. Ooh. And I go, and I'm just like, I'm fine. I also want to say amen to the darkness. Oh my gosh. I'm still, still, if I go to the bathroom, we have our bathroom and then we have a closet. I have to make sure either the light is on in the closet, so there's a little light filtering in, or if the light's off, it has to be shut.
Yeah.
And if it happens to be open and I go in and I see it, my heart starts to race and I'm like, Felicia, you need to calm the fuck down. And then I go to the bathroom and my heart's beating. Do not think about it. There's nothing in that closet. And then I rush into bed. And now because of the grudge, I leap into bed because of all the gaps, all the fucking dark gaps everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also gotta worry about her pulling you under the covers into
True.
the unknown. So
You're
not even safe in bed. Period.
I feel
Sorry.
like because either my husband or TT sleeps with me. Yes, I know she still likes to sleep with us, but one of them will be sleeping with me. And so I feel like that. All due respect, the woman from I was going to say that Grudge lady, and there was like, you better not disrespect her. The woman from the Grudge didn't really attack people when they were together in bed.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a plot hole. Yeah, just stick with your significant other. It's not like she's gonna kill you unless your significant other was in the house too. But
Yeah.
hey, that's a good. Hey, good.
We found
good
it.
loophole there. Yeah.
Always
Good way
sleep
to-
with someone. Always have someone to sleep with.
Right. Use the buddy system at all times. Don't go anywhere by yourself from now on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
big
love
proponents
that.
of that. Yeah. But so anyway, the actual intention of that question was, what are your top favorite horror movies? I don't know if you want to do like a top 5 just for our listeners if they haven't heard your show. Like at this point, I feel like maybe I could almost even guess your top movies, but
Probably.
for everybody else listening who wants to know a little bit more about you and what you like, give them your maybe top 5.
Okay. Can I share one of my other irrational fears real quick though?
Of course.
Because I was on a horror podcast a couple weeks ago, and they did phobias that just barely came out like this past week, and I was so mad at myself for not bringing this phobia up because I have a phobia of small holes. I hate them.
Yeah. What's it
Like,
called?
It's triphobia or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Tryptophobia.
Phobia.
Something like that.
Ooh.
Me too.
It-
Grosses me out.
It's so gross. Like if anybody like does the makeup of it, I can't even look at it. Like I can't even talk about it without like getting my anxiety up. So it's
No,
like
it's all in my head, Michael.
sorry.
I hate that shit too. Oh my God. And when it accidentally is like if you're scrolling or whatever and some bastard posts something about it and you're like, no, but you already had the glimpse. You have the glimpse and you're.
Yeah. So it's such an irrational phobia of mine, but it's like I hate it. Like so that's one of the things that I fear too. It's like in the top tier of my fears of shit.
It's gross.
It's so gross.
I hate that shit.
Sorry to bring the mood down again. I feel like I gave everybody anxiety in this. I just wanted to bring that up because I was mad at myself for not. I know Felicia's over there like, whew, it's getting hot here. It's really hot.
I need a bag.
I need some anxiety pills ASAP, guys.
Yeah.
Oh man. But as far as like my top five, you said, right?
Yeah.
Top 5 favorite horror films. I would have to obviously say The Grudge. I think everybody knows that one. The Shining, because I've always loved The Shining. The Shining was one of the first films I got introduced to, and every time I watch it, I feel the exact same way as I did when I watched it the first time. Like it's just so, and there's just so many things to look at in that film. Like there's so many like hidden meanings. I feel like they made The Room 237 for a reason. Like there's so many like conspiracies behind that film, and it's just such an interesting film. And I also love how Stephen King hates it so much because it's just like I don't know.
Oh shit, we should all 3 do that show. Or do that movie.
I agree. 100%.
That'd be fun
agree.
conversation.
Yes.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
So, let's see. So The Grudge, The Shining, Halloween, obviously. It's a horror classic. Yes. Tawny or Felicia, you were like, yes. Probably Hereditary. Hereditary. Oh my God, so good.
That one's mine. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to put Midsommar on there, but probably not going to do that. I would have to say my last favorite horror film of all time. Ooh. You know what? I'm gonna say Midsommar.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Jennifer's Body.
No, it's not up there in the top 5. It's in my top 10 though.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you legit just said at the beginning of this episode, it is probably the best film ever made.
Oh, did I say that?
Yes, you did.
You did.
Yes, you did.
I thought I said one of the best films ever made.
Okay. Oh, maybe you did say one of. Yes. Okay.
Hopefully I did. Sorry
one of
about
the
that.
top 10 best films.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Horror films. Yes, I love it. Can't get enough of that film. But yeah, that'd probably have to be my top 5. So
I haven't seen Midsommar. Is that what it's called? I see.
Yeah.
I see it on our Instagram all the time when I'm scrolling. I've never seen it.
Oh, you're in for a treat, I feel like.
Yeah,
You've seen it, right, Tawny?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Last question that I just thought of. What's like a movie that you hate that everybody else loves?
Ooh. I'd probably have to say, I have a couple of them. And I wouldn't say hate them. I feel like hate's kind of like a strong word. So like strongly dislike though, that I think is like incredibly overhyped. I'd have to say Sinister is one of them.
Oh, right.
Just because as much as I love like the films aspect of it, I think the films are chilling as hell. Like I think when I watch that film, like anytime I watch like the found footage stuff that he's watching, gives me chills every time. And I think that's like the best part of that film. Other than that, it's just like I feel like it's just him walking around a dark house in the middle of the night. Like there's so many scenes that I just feel like they put in there because they didn't know where else to take the film. And I just kind of feel like, I don't know, I found it kind of predictable, like with the whole children being, you know, a part of it at the end, like I found that kind of predictable because I was like, okay, like they disappeared, so maybe they have something to do with it. I don't know. It's just I don't find it as entertaining as other people do. It's not a film that I can't tell you guys the last time I watched Sinister, actually. I think the last time I watched Sinister was like 4 years ago. So it's been quite a long time since I watched it, and it's just not something I think to put on ever. So, and then another one is Split. That might be very unpopular opinion because I know that a lot of people love that film.
Okay, yeah.
But my reasoning for that is just I feel like James McAvoy's performance in that film is amazing. I think all the actors that are in that film are amazing, but you take out the whole, you know, multiple personalities plot and you just got another basic like girls trying to escape a kidnapper type of plot. Like it kind of seems just very, and if you didn't have that plot point in there with James McAvoy's character, I feel like it would just be like any other kind of movie of that genre that came out. So I just kind of feel like it's kind of, I don't know, not as good as people think it is. But
I see that.
Yeah. So those are probably my top 2. I'd have to say.
Good to know. I like to know that secret. It's not secret, but nobody ever asks, like, what do you not like? Everybody else likes.
True. We're moving on to drinks.
Ooh, I've been waiting to pop this thing open just for you guys.
Ooh, I'm actually pouring my second one, so I'll just show you my
to.
bottle.
All right, Tawny, what you drinking?
I'm drinking this Rum Haven, like coconut rum but it's also made with coconut water.
This is like healthy alcohol.
Yes.
I know.
That's brilliant. You are hydrating yourself at the same time you are drinking rum. You are hydrating and dehydrating at the exact same time. You're going to just level
Tawny.
out.
Exactly. Yes. And I'm mixing it with a little bit of LaCroix. It's really good, though. It's like I could just drink this stuff straight, which I did last night, but I'm mixing it with a little bit of, some bubbly, something to just brighten it up. What do you got, Felicia?
Me. So I got this before the healthy living. And by the way, I'm still healthy living. I'm doing the 2 shakes a day and creating and making healthy dinner, but I am having a little alcohol. So I have sparkling rosé, and it is Opaline Pinot Noir Brut Rosé. So it's sparkling. You can't even see.
Okay.
You can't see because I have the.
There we go.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's a pretty glass. I like it.
I always want to save these bottles, especially my husband's whiskey bottles. But then I always end up throwing them away. You could probably hear me pouring. See, bubbly. But when we move into a new home, my husband is going to have, like, in his office space, this beautiful, oh my gosh, when we have it, I'll have to show you guys, like displaying all of his bottles, like with these built-in shelving and all of that. Because I think whiskey bottles and cigars, because he's into cigars, they have this real beautiful kind of classic look.
Yeah.
So excited about it. But anyways, wow, that went way to the other. Michael, what are you drinking?
Might I say, Felicia, you and your husband are real classy people. Cigars, cigars, bubbly,
Tattoos.
Wow.
I don't know. If I throw it
I
off.
love your tattoos, so
Thank
hey. I'm not as classy as the both of you today. I'm just drinking regular old Mountain Dew because that's all I have in my fridge right now. Mountain Dew and
That's
water. So, and who wants to drink water during a podcast?
Well,
not as fun. So
Felicia does it.
I did for 30 days. Felicia does it. I had to do it for 30 days.
No, I'm not
The
putting
way
it
you
down.
said that, she's like, well, Felicia does it. And you're right.
No,
It
I was
fucks
like-
everything up.
No, I was like, Michael, don't talk shit about Felicia. She's right here. That was my tone.
Oh, that's right. You're right, Tawny. Thank you.
I didn't
She's got
even
my
realize.
back.
I didn't even realize that I kind of sounded petty when I said that. I'm so sorry, Felicia. I did not.
You know what's funny?
We're mad.
Neither of you ever sound petty or snarky or never. Like, seriously, I'm just going to say, and I bet everybody listening will agree, both of you always sound so genuine, loving, and kind and authentic. All the time. And I think that you guys don't even realize it, and you will say something and go, oh, maybe I sounded this way. And I'm sure I do the same thing. I'm always overthinking myself, but I just wanted to say, you guys.
Oh.
I appreciate
Well,
that.
I didn't even realize that I was like making that. Like I was making that as a joke, but then I realized that you've been drinking straight water for like the past like.
That being said, I'm going to journal about it tonight.
Well, and it's just gonna rack in my mind forever because I'm like, what you said is right on point. Like if I say something to somebody and then like I think about it later, I'm like, oh shit, did they think that I was like saying that a certain way? Like, what, did I sound like a bitch when I just said that? Like, and then I'm like, I'll sit there and stew over it for days, and then I'll finally talk to them again. And I was like, I'm so sorry if I offended you the other day, and they're like, when did you offend me? And I'm like, when I said this and this and that, and they're like, I don't even remember that conversation. That's how much it like, affected me.
You stew, and so do I. I had a boss once tell me, Felicia, he just stopped and he looked at me, Felicia, stop stewing. And I'm like, I don't know how.
I don't know how to turn this brain of mine off.
Stop.
It's honestly so exhausting.
It is.
How
It
much
is.
I can't turn my fucking brain off most of the time.
God. I'm so glad we're all in the same boat on this. Yeah.
Yes. Like once you just lock in. Yeah, I'm feeling great right now. But earlier this morning, I told Tawny just everything over the weekend and everything. I was just so mentally drained. I was like, I'm exhausted. We just feel exhausted because I couldn't turn it off. Just can't turn it off.
It's just you're going and going and going all the time.
Yeah.
These brains.
Can I crack my Mountain Dew
Do
open for you
it.
guys?
Do it. Yeah.
Okay, I've been. Ooh, that was
Nice.
crisp.
That was good.
That was
I liked it.
commercial level.
That was satisfying.
It was a commercial level crack open.
for all of you ASMR fans out there. That was
That was for you.
something, wasn't it?
Let's tell, since we're getting into it and we're on our second drink minus Michael, we should let everyone know we're going to use bad language. We are going to ruin the movie as well because we don't like to restrain ourselves back and hold ourselves back from talking about whatever we want to talk about. So if you don't want to hear about Jennifer's body, stop the episode, listen to a different one, go watch the movie, come back.
Strongly recommend that too, because it's a great fucking movie. So
Yes. However, I could see how this could be a good movie to like know something about before you watch it. Because,
right.
and we'll get into it later, the botched marketing job of this movie. So,
Oh, yeah. See, I don't know any of it. I'm excited. I try to come with a very fresh brain when Tawny's doing the research.
Ooh, and I feel like me and Tawny are gonna get very heated when we talk about this because it actually like some of the marketing tactics that took place during this film actually like legitimately pissed me off because it was just like
oh yeah.
just the way that they specifically treated Megan Fox on this film. I'm not a fan. Like
Really? Oh my gosh. I got cold chills when you said that. I'm like, we're going to have a conversation like I wasn't expecting. I thought I was just going to talk about this movie. Like, this is exciting.
Yeah,
you.
I feel like there's a lot to get into, right, Tawny?
Yes, I was gonna say I the whole time I was like, oh, Felicia's gonna be shocked. We're gonna sit down to talk about this, and she's gonna be like, I didn't even know that there was this whole thing. So I'm excited too.
I literally just watched the movie and was like, wow, this is great. And then and then showed
You're like,
up to
I enjoyed
record.
it.
That's it.
So good.
All right, are we ready to jump into it?
Yeah, we're ready for 2 minutes with
Absolutely.
Tawny in the closet. Let's do
Ooh,
it.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so we're talking about Jennifer's Body, which was made in 2009. I think I said that, but just in case I didn't. The director is Karyn Kusama. I don't actually know how you say her name. I've heard people pronounce it multiple different ways. I'm going to run with Kusama because
Sounds good to me.
as I'm reading it, that looks right. She had also directed the movie The Invitation, which I love. And I don't think I realized that until I was, looking her back up after watching this movie. She also did Destroyer and Aeon Flux, which I thought
I saw you in Flux.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of
Interesting.
either one of those movies, but The Invitation, oh my God. Such a good film. So good.
So good. We definitely need to watch that one, Felicia. Have you seen it?
Okay. No, I haven't.
Okay, I didn't think so. I think that's under my list that you have not seen, but okay, so I'm gonna do the cast again first, and I kept it really short. There's like a handful of other pretty well-known people, but I'm just gonna keep it to the core people. So we've got Megan Fox, who plays Jennifer, Amanda Seyfried. Is it Seyfried or is it Seyfried?
Seyfried, I think.
Okay, Amanda
Yeah.
Seyfried plays Needy. Johnny Simmons plays Chip Dove. Adam Brody plays Nikolai. And that's the last one.
I love him, Adam Brody. I love him.
Me too.
I remember watching him. Yeah, I remember watching him in The OC way back in the day. And I just love him.
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt. I know he was so minor.
Oh my God,
but
yeah.
I was sitting there and I'm like, wait a second. That's Chris Pratt.
Yeah. He's like in a very, very small part of that film.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
Adam Brody.
Oh, me too, especially in this movie.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
he was good.
I don't think I've seen him in anything else, really, except for this movie.
Well, he's in Scream 4. He plays one of the deputies in Scream 4.
I don't even know if I've seen Scream 4, to be honest.
Tawny.
Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody.
I have to go.
I feel like I
Bye.
should step up. I don't know if I've seen it or not. I don't remember. But he's also in another more serious movie that I can't remember. So that's exciting.
Okay, so the budget for this was $16 million, and box office. Why can't I talk today? Is $31 million.
Okay, good. That's good.
So at least it made its return for the most
Yeah,
part.
for sure.
I wonder how long after, though, that was from its debut, because I don't think it broke even close to when it first came out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think to look up like the opening weekend box office, but
I think it was like 2 million. I think that's what I read.
that's
Like,
it.
so yeah, like it bombed. It bombed right away. Okay, sorry, I had to pull up the ratings. So, Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 45%, Metacritic gives it a 47%, and then 89% of Google users like this movie. Oh, and IMDb gave it a 5.2.
Where's
And
the world
Tawny,
coming to?
you're right. It's 2.8 million opening day, 6.8 million opening weekend.
Weekend, yeah. Really bad. Did really bad on the front end.
Interesting.
What is happening to the world?
I would have to say I haven't seen it because I was expecting that. I was expecting it was just going to be sexy girls, horror. I don't even know what I was expecting. Not when I watched it now. When I watched it now, because you guys loved it so much and I respect you guys and your opinion so much, I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch this. But I think before we were even started this podcast, and if I had seen it pop up, I was assuming it was like Sorority House Massacre or something like that. I wasn't, it didn't take it too seriously, never watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest issue that I have with this film in particular. Not with this film, but like with the marketing of this film, because like it was just marketed to get teenage boys into the theater to see Megan Fox get naked. Like that's basically, like, I don't even think Amanda Seyfried was even in most of the promotional material. It was all Megan Fox. Like Amanda Seyfried's in the trailer, of course, but like I feel like I read somewhere that Amanda Seyfried wasn't even in any of the like promotional, like the teasers or anything like that. It was all Megan Fox, and it was all like shots of Megan Fox like walking down the hallway, doing the sexy walk down the hallway, or
I'm looking at it right now as you're talking. You're absolutely right. It's all Jennifer Fox, and it's her. Oh, yeah, you're right. Now that I look at it, because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, to me, and I could be wrong, and I'm going to let you guys are the masters of the information. Just my very first initial thought is, yeah, I see like her sitting here all sexy on the, with the chalkboard behind her. And it wasn't really about her. I mean, her sex appeal helped her get people, but it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't like about her sexy body. It was actually what was happening to her body. I feel what was in her body. I could be totally wrong, but I see what you're saying, and that's why I had thought, oh, what's this movie? Cheerleader, sexy cheerleader. She's a vampire. It looks like, sexy vampire cheerleader.
It can be very misleading. I feel like the marketing on this film was 100% misleading. And I actually read a fun fact on here when I was looking through like trivia stuff. Adam Brody blames marketing for this movie bombing. Like Adam Brody himself blamed the marketing for this film bombing. Like he said so himself. He's like, it was all the marketing. And I 100% agree with that, because I feel like if people would have gone into this movie with a different mindset, like with knowing that this is not just a Megan Fox film where she gets naked in the movie, like you don't even see anything of her. So I don't know why people were so excited, but it's just like, it honestly irks me, because I feel like this movie could have been more successful at the time of release if it had been marketed differently.
Correctly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you see as much as her in this movie as you did in Transformers. I just felt like my cool experience of this movie when I watched it was because I don't know how to say that better, that line. Is that I thought, oh, her body, yeah, she's sexy, and the other girl is a very gorgeous girl as well, but they played her down to be, not as glam or whatever, but is all about how sexy she is, and it just wasn't, though. It was about what was happening within her body, what was happening once she was possessed, and of course, because of her sex appeal, she was able to get more victims, or at least kind of, she was very charming and able to get the victims to trust her. But so it was much more than she's hot.
Right.
Is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me run through. I'll give you 2 minutes with Tawny.
Oh, shit. Sorry. So sorry. Oh, my God.
No, you're good.
I feel
you're
so
good.
bad now. We've totally
No,
gone
you're
off
good.
the rails here. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No, hold that thought. And
Okay.
so if you're somebody who watched this movie, but it's been a long time, so you want to know, you don't really remember what happens. I mean, it's not very long. So, and I also wrote this and didn't try to do it. So here we go. We're just winging it. Jennifer and Needy are 2 friends in a small town who have an intensely close relationship. When the band Low Shoulder comes to town, and that is Adam Brody is the lead singer of this band, Jennifer and Needy go to see them at the local dive bar, and Needy overhears the lead singer Nikolai talking about how Jennifer is a virgin. In a freak accident, the bar burns down and Jennifer leaves with the band in their van, leaving Needy, who goes home and calls her boyfriend Chip. Needy hears something downstairs and sees Jennifer, bloody and hungry, who throws up black material all over the floor and almost attacks Needy before running off. Eventually, we figure out that Jennifer was taken into the woods for the band to sacrifice to Satan in return for fame. Unfortunately, Jennifer is in fact not a virgin, so the spell turned Jennifer into a succubus who is now eating men to stay satiated. Needy realizes she has to kill Jennifer, who intercepts Chip on his way to the dance and eats him, ultimately killing him. Needy sneaks up on Jennifer. I should have written that differently. Needy sneaks into Jennifer's room and stabs her in the heart with a box cutter. But she didn't get away unscathed as she was bitten by Jennifer. This gives her some of Jennifer's demon powers, which she uses to break out of the prison that she's in and exacts her revenge on the band by stabbing them with the knife they used to sacrifice Jennifer.
Good
Bam.
one.
That was really like 2 minutes with Tawny.
You're so good.
That was great.
I'm trying to get her to do it for my movies, too, that I do the research for. That's why it's called 2 Minutes with Tawny, and she just refuses. So I'm just kidding.
That was impressive, Tawny.
She's
I love
good.
it. Every
She's
time
good.
I listen to you do your 2 minutes with Tawny segment, I'm like, God, how does she get all those words out of her mouth without like screwing it up? Because I just be like, blah, 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 blah. Like I have like a, mush mouth all the freaking time. Like I'm surprised I can even do a podcast, period. But that
I
was
cut
good,
it
Tawny.
together. If I mess up, I cut it out. So, okay. So with all that being done, should we just have Felicia. I don't know if Felicia should go first about how she felt about this movie because she's the one who hadn't seen it, or if Michael, you should go first because it's your movie. What do you guys think?
Up to you. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm down for whatever.
Well,
I'm good with Felicia going first
You
because
know
I'd love
what?
to hear Felicia's.
let me go first because I'm gonna have so much less to say about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because it's literally just my experience of watching the movie, knowing nothing about what you guys are bringing to the table.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So just so everyone knows, I am not being an ungracious host by not having Michael go first. They have chosen me to go first because I literally know nothing about this movie. I know nothing about the marketing. I know nothing. I just know they both like it. And so I put it on and I did have higher expectations than when I had seen it when I was scrolling, like I had mentioned earlier, because you guys liked it so much. So I was like, okay, so there must be something more to this movie than just my initial impression based off the cover and whatever. So I really loved it. I loved this movie. It was very surprisingly good. First of all, and you know this is a big thing for me, the acting was great. The acting was so good. Amanda Needy was so scared. She was like, the reactions were real. Like everything was real. Oh my gosh. And Jennifer, same thing. Just like when she was smiling evil with blood in her mouth, like she was 100% committed to that role, and it just shone through. Adam Brody, we already know, love him. Same thing, just all really excellent acting. And then for the comedy side, I thought the comedy lines were delivered really well, and some of them could have been, like she mentioned something. Sorry, I just had a moment where I was reliving this moment. When they were in the pool, she bit the boyfriend, and he stabs her through the heart, right? She has that big pole through her, and she says something like, "Do you have a tampon? You look like somebody that would plug."
I thought
you'd be plugged or something like that.
You seemed like you were plugging.
You seem like you were plugged. It's so absurd. But I don't know, the way they delivered the humor throughout the whole thing, it wasn't like at any point I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Not at all. Like, I think that was the one where I was like, oh my God. But it wasn't like oh my God, that's stupid, because they had built it up throughout the entire movie. And I thought the visuals were really beautiful. There were moments, and I was going to write them down, they're hard to explain. There was one where Jennifer was just arriving somewhere and the shot was from underneath her, and it was like, I think it was just blood was dripping off of her, or like the toys, the Barbie dolls in the sandbox. There was like some really beautiful moments of how it was filmed that that were just really gorgeous, and then also scary. Her mouth when she turned into that demon or the succubus was scary. All the blood and the vomit, all really, really good. So I really liked this movie. I thought they did a great job. I thought it was funny with a mix of some of the graphics, like when she was a demon, was scary. I also, because I listened to so much true crime, the whole idea of them taking her out there to sacrifice her scared me, because people do crazy shit like that. So that was scary. And then I also liked that it was more than just this girl was a hot girl. That was really not even the main point of the movie. So I loved it.
Yay.
Awesome.
That makes me so happy to hear you say that. Like, I'm so happy that you loved it, because I was nervous because I was like, I know Tawny loves this movie, but I was like, I don't know what Felicia's heard about this film. So I was like, I'm not sure if Felicia's going to like it, because I didn't know what mindset you were going into it with. Because like you said, you'd seen like the promotional stuff and you were, thinking to yourself, oh, this is probably just one of those movies. It's like a, you know what I'm trying to say,
sexy
but it's like
girls. So we just
exactly
want to see some sexy girls. Even the scene. Oh, if I can say one thing, and then I'm going to be quiet so you guys can share your mad knowledge. The scene where her and Nettie are kissing. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel, because I've watched movies where it was totally just like, oh, we want to turn the boys on with this, and that might have been the intention, but it didn't feel that way, because first of all, the acting. Like, it very fluidly, naturally happened, which was very believable. It was really beautiful. Like it was just, I don't know. I'm sure they probably did do that to be like, oh, this is going to turn the guys on or whatever. I don't know. But I just thought it was really good. And then when she's like, whoa, what the fuck are we doing? Dude, you vomited black shit all over my kitchen. You know, like this is later, but I just thought it was really well done. Okay, sorry. That's it.
Well, I thought I read something that the director, I don't know if I can't remember if it was the director or the writer, wrote that scene in specifically not to turn on like the boys or anything, but it was more so just like that intense feeling that you have towards friendships in high school. Like Needy and Jennifer have a very intense relationship. Like you can tell that like they're very close with each other. And she kind of related it to how she felt about like a lot of people in high school, like a lot of how girls in high school have such strong bonds and relationships. So for her, that scene was more so just a scene to show kind of like the progression of their like relationship, like their friendship, like how strong it is, you know?
Perfect.
Yes,
Then that's exactly what I got from it.
That's awesome, Felicia, because, and I skipped over this earlier, and I'm sorry, but the writer is Diablo Cody, and she had written Juno the year before. And so you think about the fact that you've got a writer and director duo, both female, who made this movie, that like there is some intention there. And yes, she did talk about, it's actually her interview on the Eli Roth's History of Horror. They have a podcast episode where you can listen to her full interview. And so I re-listened to that one today. And she does say, like, you know, this is like, we're talking about your intense female relationships. And there is that sweet spot when you're a teenager before life hits you and you have to like go and do all this shit on your own, where your friendships are the most important thing in your life, sometimes even more so than your like significant other relationships, like if you're dating somebody else or whatever. I think on top of that, you know, and we can talk about this more, or we can just dive into it right now. The first time I watched that scene, I was like a little confused. Like I did feel like, well, I don't understand why this has to be in there. And then after that is when I did all of this research and listened to the people talk about it and the, you know, breakdowns of it. And now the second time I was watching it, I was like, man, there is actually so much happening here, because not only is it like that, there's like this intensity of, I think I've also heard her talk about, you know, there's like this level of potential attraction even because Jennifer is so beautiful. Even her friend is like on some level curious about that and wants so bad to have that for herself, even that there's like an attractive, there's an attraction to it. And it's also a display of manipulation. You've got her using her body, you know, Jennifer, to distract Needy from what's happening, because they're like, not, they're like, they haven't even talked about anything that's happened so far. It's like totally insane. And so instead of getting into like the vulnerable side, which she ultimately does after this scene and tells Needy what happened, but it's like, it's an act of manipulation also.
Yeah, and absolutely.
So yeah, it's really great.
And it almost works for a moment too, because, you know, Amanda Seyfried's like, ooh, okay. And then then you get that split second moment that Felicia was just talking about where she's like, whoa, hold on. What the fuck just happened? Excuse me. What the hell? Like, so
we have a lot to talk about. Like,
yes. Buy me dinner before you make out with me next time. Oh, man.
So, Michael, obviously we know you love this movie.
Yes.
Tell us just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I really love this film. I've loved it since the moment I watched it for the first time back in 2009. And I think also with this film that I didn't bring up at the beginning of the conversation was that this film is very nostalgic for me as well. Like I forgot to bring up that this film is also very nostalgic because when this film came out, I was a sophomore or junior in high school. And that was like the time of my life that was just like, so many things going on in my life. I was about to go into, you know, my senior year of high school. I was about to graduate. There were so many things that were just like so unknown at the time and just so many feelings and stuff. And I just remember where I was when I watched this film the first time, like how I felt. Like it's just so nostalgic for me. And I can't believe that this film is 12 years old now. Like it's just, when I think about that, I'm like, holy crap, this movie is old. But I don't know, for me, it was just, this film is a film that I can put on any time of the day, any day. Like, it's just a film that I really, really enjoy. I think the comedy with the horror, perfect balance. Like, you don't have too much of either I love the dialogue in this film, which we'll get into when we get into the discussion, because I warned you, Tawny and Felicia, before we started. I was like, just expect for me to want to quote a shit ton of lines from this film because there's some absolute ridiculous like dialogue in this film, but I love it. I don't know. I just love this film, and I do appreciate the fact that it's getting more recognition now than it was back in 2009 when it first came out. But as I stated before, I just think a lot of the marketing had to do with that, and it kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth because, the way that they went about marketing this film and the fact that this film did do so poorly at the beginning, I feel like it's only because of the marketing, honestly, because I feel like this is a very well-made film. As Felicia was saying, like, the cinematography is amazing, like, the production value is amazing, the acting is great, like, the concept itself is really good as well. Like, everything about this film is just, in my opinion, amazing, like fantastic. So I'm glad that it's getting the recognition it deserves now, but I'm sad that it took 12 plus years for this film to finally resonate with other people,
Totally. Yeah.
So, but yes, I do love this film very much. So I'm very, very happy and grateful that you guys wanted to talk about this film with me today. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it. It really is such a hefty discussion, and I am glad to be having the conversation here because I think it does deal so much with femininity and like being like a person going through puberty, and even more than that though, being like a woman going through puberty. And there's just so much with this movie, and I agree that yes, the marketing is what like the nail in the coffin, but there's also this whole thing about like Megan Fox and how she was like vilified, and that carried into this movie. That did not help. So like Diablo Cody says, I think somewhat of what affected this movie's release is actually just misogyny in general. Like people, they didn't fucking get it. And even some of the quotes that I had I should have written them down, but I forgot. But some of the quotes, like at the time that this movie came out, like reviews, it was like, fucking, it's shocking. It's like really insulting, actually. It's like, everything's like, oh, she's not naked enough, or she's too naked, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's both at the same time. People are mad that there's not enough sex, and they're also mad that there's like too much sex. And it's like, okay, so now just because we have this female cast, that it feels like, and the marketing is absolutely did not help, right? But it's kind of this perfect storm of like people having really high expectations of Diablo Cody coming out of Juno. And like there was some even quotes that I had heard about her, like she has no right to, like, who is she? Like that she, she was like, people had this perception of her thinking that she was
what?
It just was like, okay, I could be fucking this up because I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me.
Do it, girl. You got it.
It was this idea of like, she thinks she's so smart with this like dialogue and the way that she's written her script, and like,
she is.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so people
hope
were
she
like,
thinks she is, because she is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what happened when Kevin Williamson wrote Scream? Nobody said anything about his witty dialogue because he's a man.
Yeah, exactly, totally. So you've got that both with Diablo Cody and Megan Fox, right? Because people at the time were like looking at Megan Fox like she was a spoiled little brat because she had said some shit about Michael Bay, because she was saying he's like a tyrant when we were there for Transformers, and and so I don't know the full story and I didn't have time to get into it, but I think he came back out and said, that's not my fault. Megan Fox is difficult to deal with. And so there was like this air about Megan Fox, like she was this brat. And I feel like also along with this movie, only now is Megan Fox coming out the other side of that. And people are starting to go, well, hold on, did we maybe not give that bitch a chance back then? Like, Jesus Christ, people.
Yeah.
She was speaking the truth. And so it's only after the Me Too movement that this is like resurfaced.
Yeah.
It feels
was she being a brat because she was standing up for herself? Or she was like questioning some different things that were going on and she had her own opinion and suggestions? Like,
maybe she was... Oh, sorry. No, you go. Sorry.
No, I was gonna ask, because I don't know anything like why she was vilified, but go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, was she sick and tired of being thought of as a sex symbol? Because like that's literally her role in Transformers, is to be some sexy girl that follows Shia LaBeouf around on this freaking like the way they shoot her in Transformers 2 is just so like. There's that shot that in particular that I can think of when she's like leaning over the hood of the car, and it's just like, exactly. And it's just shots like that I'm just like, really? Like, and I wanted to bring this up too, because I feel guilty for sitting here and preaching about, you know, being upset about the way that she was treated. Because back in 2009, I didn't quite have that mindset that she was a brat. I just wasn't a huge fan of Megan Fox in general at the time. And so like I kind of just like leaned into what people were saying, was just kind of like, okay, she probably is difficult to work with, because I already kind of I'm not a huge fan of her in general. So I kind of just leaned toward what everyone else was thinking. But it's like there's this huge thing with, you know, actresses and females in general. And I don't want to get too political or like, you know, on the topic of sexism, because I don't want to offend people on this podcast. Like, this is not why I wanted to come on. I don't want to offend people on your guys' podcast or anything, but like, I feel like that's the same way with, I'll make an example with Taylor Swift. Like, I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift. Like, I know all of the shit that she's had to deal with in her career, and it's because she's a woman. Like, there's so many people that sit there and say that she doesn't deserve to have the success that she has, and it's like, but why though? Like, she writes her own music. She, you know, she's part of the entire producing process. Like, you watch all the behind the scenes stuff. She's there in the studio days in and days out, like with the people that make the music for her. And she's like, yes, I like that. I like this. She like throws in her own stuff. So it's like, it's just this whole mentality of people, specifically like with people like Megan Fox or Taylor Swift. They just like have this like view of, you should know your place because you're a woman. Like, you don't have a say. And it's just this like, you know, macho man mentality that I feel like a lot of these big time Hollywood like producers and, you know,
you should be grateful. You should be grateful that you're in Transformers and that you're
right.
You know, like, yeah, totally. And let me just say also, by the way, if we're going to talk about it, it's here on this podcast when we're talking about this movie. Like, this is the perfect fucking place to talk about this, actually. And it is like, it's riddled with sexism. It is like all of this, the whole, from the marketing to the like reception of these women, like, God damn, exactly what you were saying. Are men writers getting shit for trying to do something different? Like, no, like not to the same degree that I think Diablo Cody has been vilified. Right. She actually said, I would love to do horror again. I'd love to write another horror, but people are not chomping at the bit for me to write another horror movie because this one got shit on so badly.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that is part of it. And you can see that so clearly. It's just so clearly illustrated with this movie.
Yeah, and it just, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sorry.
No, you're
this
good.
Might be totally out of left field too. Like, what's wrong with a woman's body anyways? Like, what I don't know. You might want to cut that out because I need to think through that a lot
no,
more.
I think I know where you're getting at. I think I know where you're getting at. Like, what's wrong with a woman showing off her body opposed to a man showing off his? Because you get all these like movies with men like ripped abs and everybody's like, ooh, like you don't hear them get like criticized for like having too much male nudity in films, but it's like always female nudity that's like an issue, and it's like, yeah,
I think that's where it came from. Sorry. Okay.
No, you're good.
I had that much wine. Remember, I had 30 days to healthy living. So there's a little buzzing going on. But because when Tawny was saying, like, people hated it because she was naked, I think that was my response. Like, I mean, as long as, I don't know, I thought it was beautifully done. I thought it was just enough. I thought that, you know, I appreciated that they didn't, like, when she was getting out of the pool, right? She was in a pool, I think.
I think it was a lake.
She was in the lake. And she got out and it just showed her back and then not anything else. So you got that sense, but it wasn't like over the top. But, you know, but now saying all of that, I'm sure in Hollywood, though, that was probably not the experience and not the experience for Jennifer. And I don't know her, but she probably, you know, maybe wanted to be considered more than just her body, right? She wants to be an actress. I remember, she wants to be an actress and she wants to be more than just her body. And it feels like what you guys are saying is people are like, no, sorry, that's just all you are. And if you're trying to say you want to be more, you're being a fucking brat.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that an interesting thing about this movie is, like, you're right, Felicia, to say, okay, yes, you get this sense from the promotional materials that it's, like, all about Megan Fox and her body and how hot she is, and it's not about that. But also, it kind of is about that. Mm-hmm. Like, it is a little bit. So it's like, it's a really hard line to walk, and you really have to watch the movie to be able to understand what they are trying to impart upon you. And even for me, even after I watched it the first time, I had to go and read and research and really like understand what they were going for. So I can't honestly say that I picked up on it the first time, but I did get that they were going for something a little bit deeper than that. And I think, you know, so you kind of pick up on it, but I had to go and like, you know, see what are they saying about this now, and what do other people have this take on this. But so that's the interesting thing, is that it is and it isn't. It is about that. And even Diablo Cody said, the thing about Jennifer is she's actually a really intelligent, dynamic character, in some ways even more than Needy.
Yeah.
But nobody gives a fuck about that. No one cares because they just care about her body. And I think it's just like so aptly said.
That's beautiful. Yes. I'm sorry. I got all excited because I was also thinking even she starts to subscribe to that idea of herself, that this is who I am. Me being sexy is who I am, even though she's more than that. And she had made that comment about, I don't even remember, but you could, Michael, you could probably quote it. They're walking down the hall and she says this really great thing about feminism and the constructs and
well, she says something about she's like, "Are you PMSing or something?" And she's like, "PMS isn't real, Needy. It was a something invented by the boy-run media to make us seem all crazy." Like,
yes, that's what she even says. I think the patriarchal media. Yes. So she is knowledgeable, but she has also understood this is how people see me, and this is how people like me, being a teenage girl. So this is who I'm going to be, is just all about sex and being sexy, even though she's a little bit more than that, which that is being a teenager for everybody. Where do you fit in? What is your identity? You're going to make it work.
And also, how do you get what you want? How do you move forward in the world? And I think this is also, this wasn't necessarily my thought, but I think this is also a really good thought process on this movie. I got this from Faculty of Horror, which they do an episode on Jennifer's Body. It's very good, by the way. You should totally listen to it.
I'll have to listen to it.
You're going to love it. And they talk about how, like, actually this is kind of a commentary on, like, women. It's kind of your only tool available to you sometimes to be able to move forward and get what you want out of life. And so that is what Jennifer is doing because that's all she knows how to do, right? And before I forget, I want to just say, Michael, that I agree with you. When this movie came out, I also remember seeing the promotional materials, not being a fan of Megan Fox because of that whole, I didn't even like read anything about it.
Me
it was
either.
It was just like the vibe of the time, was it not? Like what a weird thing to pick up on, even though we didn't actually read or look into any of the information.
Right.
But I did think, oh, fuck her. For some reason, I don't even know why. I just was like, I don't like her.
She just looks like a bitch, so.
Yeah, like.
You know.
So I want you to know that it's not just you. That was me too. And I actually hadn't even watched this movie until like a year or two ago. Was the first time that I watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it took me a long time, but I'm kind of glad because I think if I had seen it back then, I would have not gotten it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would have maybe just given it like a next kind of thing. Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted to bring up like the whole Taylor Swift thing. Like I didn't mean to go off like on a huge tangent on her, but it's the same with her. It's like when that whole Kanye West thing came out, when he like leaked those recordings about her, everybody was like quick to judge her and not even like see both sides of the story. You know, like they never even thought to be like, oh, you know what? Maybe they, you know, concocted this on purpose to try to make her look bad, which later on was proven that Kim and Kanye did leave out some of that audio and they edited it to make themselves look better and make her look like the bad guy.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah. Good point.
So it's like, that's a perfect example of like, you know, not to, like I said, not to go off on a tangent on Taylor Swift, but it's like, it's the same thing for her. I feel like in a sense that Megan Fox went through at that time. It was just all about like, you don't have an opinion, like your opinion doesn't matter because you're a woman, like do what we tell you to do. Be a nice girl, be a good girl, you know, play the part, or you're going to be the bad guy in this situation. Like you're going to lose. Like if you go against what we think that you should do, you're going to be the bad guy in this situation. And it's a sad thing because it's like now that I've gotten older and I, you know about all these things about like what happened with Megan Fox and, you know, during that time, I feel bad that I even had like these assumptions in my head about her without even giving her a fair chance. And it's just kind of a sad thing. It really is. Like when you talk about this film, like it's a great film, but when you get into like the nitty gritty of it, like we are right now, it is a little sad, you know, to think about that. That's how women are treated. Even today, women are still treated that way. And it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Can I share this with you just as just because you're mentioning Taylor Swift and then Jennifer Fox, and like the just different perspective. So when this came out in 2009,
Yeah.
Yep.
so I was in college when this came out, and the guy I was dating, who's my ex-husband, he was trying to get into acting. So he was taking these acting classes and all of this. So he had met her because it was pretty like, she wasn't like super wicked famous, but getting there.
Yeah.
He had her boyfriend at the time, which I believe was her fiance, and I can't remember his name. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but he was somehow related to the school that, or the classes that my I think he was maybe represented or had been taught by the woman who was teaching my boyfriend at the time. So anyways, all of that. So there was, based off what that woman, the teacher, was saying, and then what my boyfriend was showing me at the time, I had this view of Jennifer Fox of, I felt really bad for her. So it was like coming through, like she was really struggling. I don't think, maybe her relationship with her fiance was kind of crumbling. People were attacking her, but it was coming through that lens where I didn't even know until they were saying that. And I was like, oh man. And I remember we were down in Melrose and she was there with her boyfriend and they were getting into a car. And I remember that it was something about her, just like she was like really sad or bummed. And I felt so bad for her. So that was my mentality with all of this. So I didn't think she was a brat or anything. It was actually the opposite. However, until like a few years ago, I thought Taylor Swift was a total brat. I can't even tell you why. So I totally get what you guys are saying. I can't even tell you why. I was like, I don't like her. No, I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't like her. And then I saw that documentary, some of these songs that I was like, oh my God, I love this. And it was made by her. And then I saw that documentary, which I don't remember the name of either. And I was like, oh, wow, I was a dick. Like, why did I not even like this girl? Like, I don't even know why.
Well, and that's the scary thing about media, is that it can like completely warp your perception about a specific person without you even like having the knowledge, or not the knowledge, but the information of like what's really going on here. Like I feel like Taylor Swift was actually the perfect example to segue into like Megan Fox, because it's the media. It has such a fucking hold on people, and it has such a way of brainwashing people into thinking a certain way. Like with the whole Taylor Swift thing, like calling her like a man eater and like saying that she has boyfriend after boyfriend. It's like, you know what? Like Leonardo DiCaprio is in freaking, wherever the hell he is, surrounded by women all the time. He's legendary in Hollywood for being a womanizer, but nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever plasters his name on, newspapers saying that he's a horrible person or anything like that. But it's always like these women that like get into relationships, and it's like Taylor Swift is in her 20s. She has a right to go to whore around if she wants to. Like, why is that any of your business? Like,
right.
And I try not to get heated when I talk about it, but it's just like this whole mindset of women are only allowed to be a specific way and men are the ones that are allowed to get away with everything. It's like, why is that? Why is that like such a 20s way of thinking? Like,
yes.
Have we not evolved so much in like the past 100 years that like we still have this like small-minded way of thinking that women have like less rights than men do?
Oh.
Felicia's like, hold that thought.
Sorry. This was, yes. God, if anyone's listening to this and is like jiving with this, you have to read this very small book. He's a Stud, She's a Slut, and 49 Other Double Standards Every Woman Should Know by Jessica Valenti. She does amazing work. Sorry, I just had to mention this because it talks exactly about what you're talking about. Why is the girl a slut or whoring around, but never, ever, ever is that on the man's side? And by the way, if you want to, oh God, this is going to be blasphemy. Tawny might be like sweating tomorrow morning after this. But if you are a man or woman that wants to have many relationships, and I mean, whatever you're doing, as long as it's not causing you or somebody else emotional distress, of course. But if you are just, you want to meet lots of people and you want to have different relationships, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Why is that a problem for anybody? I don't even get it. It's none of your fucking business, first of all.
Yeah.
If you're someone that's like, no, you should only have one person and this is what you should do, great for you. Don't have more people. But other people aren't like that. And what's the fucking problem? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm married and I love my husband and I chose him. That's a problem if I have that mentality. But for anybody else that doesn't want to tie themselves down and wants to date lots of people and have sex and whatever, who fucking cares?
It's your life. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So I pulled back up these quotes because I needed to, I'm bringing this back around, but Felicia, I just wanted you to know what these quotes were like. So these were, I think, a couple of reviews that came out right at the time. And so the first one is, if you're in search for a way to ogle Megan Fox's body, there are a lot better ways to do it than subjecting yourself to this, said Real Views. I don't even know if that's like a website or a business or whatever. Here's the second one. Jennifer's body is not funny, nor is it sexy. And then in parentheses it says, the girls keep their clothes on. Nor is it scary. And then again in parentheses it says, it's all just special effects, said Combustible Celluloid.
Wow, these sound like really noted people to listen to.
I know,
Hey,
they've
both
been
of
around.
you people should be watching porn. If that's what you go, this is a movie, go watch.
It's so insulting, is it not? Like, it's like so, that's what I was trying to impart upon you earlier when people were having a problem, like, oh, it's not even funny and it's not sexy because people aren't naked. And it's also not scary.
It was incredibly sexy.
If you want to watch Megan Fox's...
and beautiful. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, you're good. And if you want to watch Megan Fox's body, go watch another movie because this is shit. Like, that is the fucking vibe of, like, the response to this movie, which is, again, insane looking back at it.
Yeah. Well, and
I think... Sorry.
Oh. No. You
Michael,
go first.
Okay, my comment is so small and no one's going to have anything else to say about it. I think something that's really sexy is the hint of, like, when you just see a little... What did you want? Just balls to the wall, like naked, sprawled. Like what? I think they portrayed sexy and powerful and scary very well, in my opinion. But Michael, go ahead.
I agree.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, they're talking about how, I don't know, I feel like some people are talking about how, like, trashy Megan Fox, like the other side of people that are like, this movie shouldn't have nudity. I'm pretty sure that Transformers puts her in a way more trashy light than this movie does because of the shots that I mentioned earlier. Like, she is more naked in that film than she is in this one. Let's be real. Like, let's be fucking real for a minute. She is more fucking naked in that movie than she is in this film. Like, she's wearing shorts that are up to her freaking, like, cooter, almost coochie,
I
whatever.
love cooter. I love that you just used cooter. I also
I've never heard that before.
Dude, I swear to God, I said cooter in another episode. I might have cut it out, but because I was like, oh, people are gonna fucking make fun of me for this.
You must have said it in it because I don't even remember that. What's the movie she was in where she played? I'm looking right now. Maybe it's This Is 40. This Is 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she played the sexy younger woman.
Like, it was like the mom or something. Yeah.
Yeah, she's more nude in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
So
just like, you
weird.
didn't hear anybody like criticizing Transformers for her part in it. Everyone was like, yeah, woo! Transformers is a great movie. I love seeing Megan Fox half naked. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like we could talk about this for like days.
There's so much shaming of the female body. There's just so much shaming of the female body. Because you know what? Everyone has opinion on just how much we should show, what we shouldn't show, what we should show, just how much is not slutty versus how much, you know what I mean? Like, fuck you. This is like what, and to put it to men, literally, the only thing that will cross the line is if we see your penis. That's the one time where, I'm not saying it crosses the line. I'm just saying in a movie when that happens, people are like, oh.
Rating.
Oh, that doesn't usually happen, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was like, I'm kind of an advocate for having more male nudity in films. I think, you know, I'm not opposed to seeing female nudity, but I'm not straight in any sense of the word, so it's like, what's going on with the male nudity in these films? I think it's kind of lacking a little bit. I think we need some more of that.
Yes, and for clarification, I wasn't saying it crosses the line at all.
No, I know.
I totally don't care if people are nude, and everybody knows it because I gave Antichrist a 5. But I'm just saying when people are normally watching a movie, unless a penis all of a sudden appears and they go,
You're not shocked. You don't think about it.
But if they could be in a Speedo and everything else is showing and it's fine, but a woman like Jennifer was clothed in like what she unzipped her, top or whatever, it's too much. Don't show me those boobs, like that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm making sense, but
You are.
No,
you're
make
making
total sense. Yeah.
You're
Okay,
the
good.
most sense is what you're making right now. You're the source of truth in this moment. So
Oh, man.
I feel like while we're on the subject, let's just lean into this. And I have this, I tried to pare it down a little bit, but I think I found this Vox article about this very thing and how the marketing really fucked up this movie and what people were expecting and why it didn't meet those expectations. So I tried to pare this down, but I'm going to read through this because I think this is they put it so well. They really succinctly just wrapped everything up into this. So the clearest expression of the 2009 critical consensus on Jennifer's Body came from Roger Ebert, who described it as Twilight for boys. But while Twilight taps into a fantasy for straight girls that is repeated and codified so often that it's become its own storytelling trope, Jennifer's Body wasn't working with quite such a recognizable fantasy. The whole thing is not necessarily unsexy per se. It is Megan Fox after all. But demonic cheerleader kills and eats boys is absolutely not a classic sex fantasy trope for straight boys the way that sexy vampire is for straight girls. So why did so many critics seem to think that this movie, written and directed by women, was trying to be a trashy, fun, soft porn flick for guys? In part, we can blame the marketing, which leaned heavily on the idea that Megan Fox was hot. If you knew anything about Jennifer's Body when it came out in 2009, it was probably that it was going to give you the chance to see Megan Fox being sexy. But when you try to view Jennifer's Body as a spooky sex romp for men, it disappoints. None of the men in this movie have enough of a presence for audience members to project themselves onto the way audiences could with Kristen Stewart's Bella in Twilight. The men here are mostly just bodies to be disposed of, and are either entirely unthreatening or simultaneously threatening and pathetic. Jennifer's seduction/murders are too campy to read as really sexy, and the much-hyped kiss between Jennifer and Needy is less steamy girl-on-girl action served to the male gaze on a platter than it is an awkward, confused act of manipulation between two girls bound together equally by affection and ego-driven codependence. The honest truth is Jennifer's Body is not really a sexy movie in the way that it was advertised. It's much weirder and much more unsettling than that.
Boom! Who said that?
That was from a Vox article.
Dude,
I love that.
I got cold chills. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's exactly true. All of it.
Yep.
Good job, Tawny.
I
finding that.
I didn't.
But you found it. You found it. And you shared it.
I'll put it in our Facebook group too, because it's longer. It's much longer, and there's a lot of information if you want to go and read the whole thing.
It's good.
Yeah, I really thought it just hit the nail on the head.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
For sure.
That's basically, in a nutshell, what we've been talking about for the last, 30 minutes or so. It's just, yeah. This film, I just wish it would have gotten more recognition at the time, but...
I'm seeing what you guys are saying. If they would have marketed it for what it was, what it was meant to be, it would have been so much better. I mean, I think the response would have been better because they would have known what they expect. You're going to still have some stupid people saying blah, 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 blah. You're always going to have that. But if they would have marketed it, people would have known what to expect or when they go into it. I'm curious how much of the marketing, and then Michael, please say what you were going to say, because it seems like I keep just beating them to the punch a half a second. The writer and the director had to do with the marketing or any say that they had in it.
Well, let me tell you a little fun fact.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, do you want to? You tell it.
You tell it, Michael.
No. You're good. You do it.
You're our guest.
No. I want
Okay.
Tawny to do it. I feel like I've been talking way too much already. I feel like I've already taken over this episode, so I feel bad. So I'm like,
You have
Tawny,
not.
take it away. I was just gonna say the same thing Tawny was about to say, I think. So I was excited. I was like, ooh.
Yes. So this will illustrate, I think, to you, Felicia. We don't know exactly what that power dynamic was like. We don't know how much say they had in it, but we know that. Just from what I'm about to tell you, I can assume that the entire marketing team was all men, and they totally misunderstood the point of this movie. So It says, in a February 2016 interview with the New York Times, while trying to illustrate how completely the studio's all-male marketing department misunderstood the point of this movie, director Karyn Kusama recalled that one of their marketing ideas was for Megan Fox to do live chats with amateur porn sites. Kusama said that she begged them not to even mention the idea to Fox because she would become so dispirited. It was crushing.
Oh my God. That just fucking pisses me off.
It's disgusting.
That's just fucking disgusting. Come on.
I know.
That's horrible.
Yeah, when I read that fact, it pissed me off. I was like, oh, whoo, wow.
It's so wildly off base. Okay, I'm sorry, Michael, I interrupted you.
No. That's all I was gonna say. You're good.
Wildly off base. It's wildly off base and just so. God, I feel so like my heart hurts for her at that time. Hopefully, it's like it's better time for her now. Because can you imagine wanting to be an actress, breaking into the business and getting the lead role in this? The freaking title is your character, right?
Yeah.
And them asking you, I mean, they didn't, but even them coming
suggesting
to you and saying, "Hey, can you do this on the porn sites or whatever?" God, how you must feel. And then that, like, is this something I need to do? She was very young as well, right? And even if you're not young, just being new to the business, is this something I should do? Is this something I have to do? You know, having that sense of saying, fuck you, I'm not doing it, comes with having a lot of other movies and stuff in your back pocket to say, this is what I do, this is what I don't. I think people going into the business that are brand new, they have that sense of like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But then at the end of the day, if you're trying to break into the business and become a famous actor, you know, what do you do? And people making you feel like you really don't have the power to say. That's really scary and sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exploitative and scummy in my opinion. Like that is like literally the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Like ever. Like even like I already knew that fact before Tawny even brought it up, but like even hearing her like re-say it again pissed me off. I was like, I cannot believe like that even went through any of their minds to even suggest it. Like to even come up with that idea in general. Why? Like why? And I don't know, Felicia, you probably haven't, but I would recommend that you and like any of the listeners that haven't, because I'm sure Tawny's seen it, but there's an excellent interview with Megan Fox, and I think it's Diablo Cody, the writer. They had it was for the anniversary of Jennifer's Body, so it was back in 2019. It was for the 10th anniversary, and they got together and they did like an interview about the film, and they go into pretty good detail about like what happened behind the scenes as well. So, and I feel like they, the director and the writer, neither one of them wanted anything to do with like what the, you know, what's the word? Promotional people wanted to do, but they didn't really have a say. Like it was one of those things where it was like, well, we have the final say. You're just, you know, to me, it just seems very sexist in my opinion. Like, just like you're women, know your place. Like, let us handle everything else because we're the big bad men in Hollywood and we know what we're doing. And it's like, clearly you don't, but
Yeah. Fucked up. The good news is though, I feel like, I mean, you know, just the fact that we're talking about this, it has garnered like a big cult following ever since then. Like now people really fucking love this movie, and Paige, my friend here, is like really super into her podcast, by the way, is Film versus Movie too, if you want to go listen to them. But they talk about this movie in one of their episodes, and she had found like this place that had like Justice for Jennifer's Body t-shirts or something. So like people are on this train. Like they are about this, which is good. And apparently it even got an unofficial musical in 2018. So there has been a rallying behind this movie now. Yeah. Even though it would have been nice to have it then.
Sooner.
Can I tell you this? This is great. It came into my head and I'm like, don't say that, Felicia, because it's weird. Now I'm going to say it. everything we've talked about, I feel like I want to go out onto the street corner with a picket sign.
Yes.
For Jennifer. And then you just said that. And then I even had this thing play in my head, because this is how my brain works. A small group of podcasters are picketing for Jennifer Fox and her movie Jennifer's Body. And we're not sure why. And then us three with our picket signs.
But it's all over Zoom. So like one of us, we're holding a computer in one hand, and in the other hand we've got our picket sign, and we're just walking around.
Yes.
And then it's like just you guys on the other side of it. We're just like, justice for Jennifer. Justice for Jennifer.
Yes.
What do we want? Justice. Who do we want it for? Jennifer's body.
Yeah, Jennifer's body. I love it. Yes.
When do we want it now?
10 years ago. No.
Oh my god.
Oh my lord.
I just feel like the whole core team, like the writer, director, and the people, Amanda Seyfried and Megan Fox, they all fucking got it. They were like, okay, I get this. So Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried both have said that this is their favorite movies of their respective filmographies. So they both are incredibly proud of this and acting in this, even still.
That's great.
That's great.
I do love the opening scene of this movie, like with Amanda Seyfried, and like she's in like the mental hospital, and I love the
kicking that woman in the face.
When she's like, every day I get letters. I'm more famous, or I get more letters than Oprah, Dr. Phil combined.
Yeah,
I'm kind of the shit. Yeah, I love it.
I'm kind of the shit. Yeah, that moment, that was one of those lines that I was like, we used to say that constantly. Like my friends and I would be like, "You're the shit. I'm the shit. We're the shit. That's the shit." Like that was like constantly what we said. So I was like, "Yeah, this is real."
I love this. Yeah. And then when she's like, just the whole part where she's like, "It says so on my chart. I'm a kicker." And then when the lady walks up to her, she's like, "Toastums, huh?" And she's like, "I like Toastums." And she's like, "Well, I mean, I just don't think it's very sufficient to your diet. I was thinking more complex carb." And she fucking kicks
her right in the face.
I suggest you shut the fuck up. Yeah, I love it.
Because how many times has every single human being in this world wanted to say that to somebody? That's more of like the, I think we're attracted to that because we feel that sometimes, but we have to like hold it in.
Societally.
That was so gross though, that woman spitting out the blood of her teeth and stuff. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. But to what you guys were saying earlier, but not wrapping back around, we don't have to go back there, but I didn't even realize she was in this movie and that she was a major part of this movie. I didn't even know.
She's technically the main character if you really think about it. Like she's like the main protagonist, and Megan Fox is just not a side character, but she's not the main character, which like, most people think she is.
Yeah, but she's the antagonist. Even though she's a sympathetic character, you really you don't really root against her, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and a lot of people say that they root for her the most. But I find myself rooting for, I don't know, both her and Needy. It's like everybody's kind of in a fucked up position because I love Needy and I love Jennifer as characters because Jennifer just is the way she is, not necessarily due to herself, but just, society and stuff. Mm-hmm. But also, can I just say, I was real sad for Colin. And Chip, obviously.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Poor Colin and Chip. But Colin, I don't know. I had a little bit of a soft spot. I mean, I just told you guys, I followed around bands, okay? So I was like, what up, Colin?
Which one?
That would have been me when I was 16.
Colin's the one that is the gothy guy.
He has the lip ring.
Yeah. And see, it's totally believable because if this beautiful girl wants to meet you alone, even though you pull up in this abandoned area, it's not unbelievable. You'd be like, okay, what does she have planned? But you obviously wouldn't assume that this girl you go to high school with is planning to kill you. You'd be like, okay, she's into some different stuff. Let's check it out.
She's into some kinky. She's into some kinky shit. She likes to bring men out to abandoned houses. Okay,
but maybe I'm into that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I've never tried it. You know what I mean? So it's believable. Yeah, him and the boyfriend.
Yeah, the boyfriend's sad. Well,
but why the hell was he? Dude, he switched quick on his girlfriend though. But they're teenagers, actually. So.
Well, I wonder about that too because I wonder if she has some sort of like power to put these men in a trance almost, because it almost seems like I want to say that I feel like Chip would not go anywhere with her by himself. Like, I feel like he's so dedicated to Needy. He loves her so much. And regardless of whether like she, I guess temporarily broke up with him or whatever you want to call it, like, I don't feel like he would go off with Jennifer and like just make out with her. So I feel like personally she has some power that she possesses to put her like victims in a trance like state almost, to like get them to do what she wants them to do almost.
I agree. I think that's fair.
Yeah, because with the other guys, like Colin and the football player guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but I mean, she didn't really have to do anything to them because they were already like infatuated by her. But with Chip, like, he never had any sort of attraction towards her at the beginning of the film. Like, at the beginning of the film, he can't stand her. Like, you get a total gist that he does not like Jennifer. He knows that she's not good for Needy because he's like, he makes comments here and there. He's like, you don't have anything in common. And Needy's like, we like the same things. And he's like, you guys do not have anything in common. And yeah, it's like, but then towards the progression of it, like, it seems like he's slowly starting to like fall for Jennifer, but I don't think it's because he wants to. I think it's because she's somehow manipulated him. Like she tried to do with Needy in the bedroom. That's what she does. She manipulates people and puts like these ideas in their heads. So like, yeah, I feel bad for him, but I don't think that like he would have just gone off by himself with her. If he was of sound mind, of course. But
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about funny moments that I really appreciated. And I just want to say, the first time I watched this movie, I wasn't ready for the comedy. So like I think I thought it was funny, but I thought it was fucking hilarious the second time I watched it. Like, cause then I was prepared for the tone of it. And sometimes that can really throw me off if I'm not prepared for the tone of a movie. But one of my favorite lines is when Colin is like, I don't remember exactly what he says, so maybe you can help me with this, but he's like, oh, Needy, I heard that you escaped the fiery throes or whatever, or fiery trenches. I fucking laughed out loud. I was like, what? That was so good.
It's so good. He's like, I'm glad you're alive. And then Chip is like, what's up with you and Colin? I thought he only talked to the dead girls or whatever. And she's like, we just understand each other. I don't know. Yeah, I love that whole thing with him and Colin. But like, another funny moment like happens towards the beginning of the film, like when you get introduced to Jennifer for the first time when she's doing the flag twirling, which I love that scene. I love the way that scene looks visually. It looks so cool.
So good, yeah.
Like when she's twirling it and like but Needy's like waving at her like all like, oh, and then you get like the Asian girl Chastity, and she's like, you're totally lesbian gay, and she's like, what? She's my best friend, and she's like, oh. Like just some of the lines in this film are just fucking hilarious.
They're like spot on.
Agree.
Yeah.
Like I can't get over how funny this movie is. And then when they're at the bar, like going to see the band, or before they go to the bar, they're at Needy's house, and they come downstairs, like Chip and Needy come downstairs because Jennifer gets there, and Jennifer's like, it smells like Thai food in here. Have you guys been fucking? Like, it's just so, like, some of the dialogue is just so ridiculous, but it's funny. I don't know.
It's out there. And, like, I think the other moments that I think of, like when she's walking up to that football player, she's so far away in the background, and then it cuts to his face, and she walks up from the other side. Like, you see her. That cracked my ass up. It was just so well-timed and well-edited. I don't think I picked up on it the first time, and the second time I was just like, this is fucking great.
It's so good. Like, there's so many like little things that you don't pick up on, like you were saying the first time you watch it, and then you watch it again and you're like, oh wow. Like recently on most recent, well not, I guess not on most recent watch, but a couple of times before I watched it, I love how smart it is that they like in the bar scene when they take the normal trope of being a virgin in horror movies, and that's somehow how you survive a horror movie, but they flip it on its head, and this time it's the fact that she is not really a virgin, but she says she's a virgin that does her in. And it's like, okay, so they took like the cliched like of, oh, if you're a virgin you're gonna survive, but then they flip it on its head, and it's like, actually in this film, if she wasn't a virgin, she would have survived. Or I guess if they knew that she wasn't, she wouldn't. None of this would have ever happened. Right. So I thought that was a very interesting, like, kind of take
Subversion.
On the whole, like, on the whole cliched, whole virgin trope that they put in a lot of movies.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she even goes, I'm not even a backdoor virgin, thanks to Roman.
And that, by the way, that shit hurts. I skipped flags that morning. I had to sit on a bag of frozen peas.
Like, it's like every time that we talk about a funny line, I love, Michael, that you're following it up with the second funny line, because it really doesn't stop there. It's not just the punchline. It's like there's a second punchline. You know what I mean?
But I also love like the way they like introduce this place. Like they don't go into a lot of detail, but you get the gist that this is like a very small town. Like not a lot happens here. Like especially when you get like later on in the film when like this whole thing blows up and like you've got all these like news people pouring in, and you know, all because of like some
tragedy
bar burned down. Yeah, some bar burned down. And like that's like another kind of like subconscious like subtext thing that I think they put in here, like our love of like tragedy.
Yes.
Like for some reason people go nuts over it. Like you hear about like school shootings and it's just like front page news on everything you hear about, and it's like it's kind of like the way Scream did it too, like the whole like our obsession with just like tragedy. You know, It's like our sick obsession with just like things that happen. It's like we pay no mind to other things, but then when something like that happens, it's like, oh, that's all we can talk about for, you know.
Yes. Yeah. So long. Even the like, but there's some definite comedic moments in there too, like with the teacher. I love that moment when he hears him screaming out and he's like, "Let it out, kids!
Let it out, kids!" Dude, he was so good.
Oh my god, I know. He was in this movie for like 30 seconds. J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons. Wow.
He's so good. Yeah, and he's like, "This is a dark, dark day for Devil's Kettle."
He was so good.
Senorita, and we've lost our favorite Spanish teacher, Senorita Erickson. No way, Erickson hates shit. Oh my lord.
So good. I feel like I'd have to watch this movie like 8 times over to like get everything. You know, like the rewatchability is so high on this that my enjoyment the second time watching is so, I would say, double the first time. So it's like it must just get better and better and better every time you watch it. Yeah.
Well, I've only watched it once, so I'm in for a treat.
You are, yeah.
I know. I feel like I'm probably getting on your nerves with quoting all these lines from this film, but I have seen this movie. Like, I know this movie from like the back of my hand. Like, I'm gonna be real honest. I didn't even take notes on this film last night. Like, that's how confident in this movie that I was, because I was like, I know this movie. Like, I took some notes like just to get me from point A to point B, because I wasn't sure if we were going to do like a scene by scene thing. So I didn't want to miss anything that could have been important to talk about. But like, I didn't like go into depth like I usually do. Like normally I have like 6 pages of notes just on like one scene. So, but for this movie, I was like, I'm good.
Don't even need it.
Yeah.
You're like, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But I also wanted to bring up, I love that scene after the bar burns down when Needy's at home alone. Like that whole scene is terrifying to me. I remember the first time I watched that scene and it scared the crap out of me, like the literal crap, because Jennifer looks scary in that scene. Like the whole scene where she turns around and she's just sitting there smiling at her. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm not for that.
Yeah, that she did that very, very well. All of her scary, blood dripping, vomit, like everything was her smile. She did great.
Yeah, she does fantastic in this film, and like this is the film that I feel like, on more watches, I feel like I appreciate Megan Fox more, especially now that I've heard about like all the stuff that she went through with this film specifically. But it's just like, she is a really great actress. Like people don't give her the credit she deserves, especially in this film. I think she's great in this film. Yeah. Like I just think she's great.
She's very, very, very good. Yes, I think she's great as well.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and the majority of the funny lines that happen in this film are from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. And she delivers them so well. And it's such a hard balance to strike, I think. Like, this is something that, again, Faculty of Horror mentioned, is that when she's trying to be tongue-in-cheek, she hits the nail on the head. She does a really good job. And I'm sure that's really hard to do as an actor, you know? Like, and she just nails it.
Yeah, I love it. And oh my God, some of the lines in here, like some of the stuff in here, I feel like is so borderline offensive it would not fly in today's day and age. Like the whole part where they're at the bar and she goes and gets like the 9/11 tribute shot, and she's like, "Oh, Tower 1 isn't full enough." It's like,
I see. I missed that. I didn't even pick up on that. I watched this twice, and I didn't even.
Yeah, she brings it back up to Needy, and she's like, "Oh, Tower 1 isn't full enough."
I remember her saying that one wasn't full enough, and I totally missed that it was 9/11.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I think it's funny. I think it's just
Yeah.
I enjoy it. There's a lot of and we don't have to get into it. I'm just going to mention like a lot of Dave Chappelle does a really good job talking about the comedy in general and how offensive can you be and where do you draw the line of that's too far when you're talking about comedy, because it's hard and we're not going to like dive into it, but that to what you're saying, right? People could watch that and be very, very offended by that. And then for Dave Chappelle, it's like, it's comedy.
Yeah.
It's comedy,
Like, lighten up, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like, especially in this day and age, it's a very blurry line of like what people find offensive, because like you could find like people these days will find anything to be offended about. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like just ridiculous to me. But like, yeah, just like some of the jokes in this film, like I wanted to touch upon because I just think some of them are so offensive, but they crack me up every time, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that, but like they make me laugh. Like, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Like the whole part where she comes back to class the next day, like when she's sitting there and like Jennifer comes up and she's like, Needy does that with her fingers because she's got all like the blood and shit, like the stuff under her fingernails, and she's like, "Oh fuck, you need a mani bad. You gotta find a Chinese chick to buff your situation." Like, it's so like that line is so racist, but the way that Megan Fox delivers it is so fucking hilarious. Like,
yeah, there's
Does
like
that, I don't even remember that line. I need to watch this movie again.
I'm telling you, dude, it's so fast. Like if you're not, and I was paying pretty close attention last night. Like I feel like I had watched it once and I had done a little bit of day drinking, so maybe I wasn't 100% paying attention, but I was like 95, and I like you miss these things, because it's so dense. The script is so dense, but yeah, like it's and there's like a truth to that, right? Like I just feel like I said some shit when I was a fucking teenager that God thank you that there was not actually like social media. I would be so ashamed of like, and it was just, I was an ignorant ass kid.
Yeah.
I was so ignorant. And so, but that lends this credibility to these characters that you're like, this is what I was like. This is right. Like it's so real.
Like that day and age, it was so accurate to like how because for example, like when you brought up the whole thing, like some of the things that you said, you were like, wow, I can't believe I said that. Like Shane Dawson, like you guys probably know who that is. He's not very well regarded right now. He's a YouTuber. Okay. He's like a famous YouTuber. And right now his career is basically going down the toilet because things are coming out now that he used to do blackface in his videos. He is very racist. He's also done like some very questionable things regarding children, like has like made comments about children. But like I remember growing up with Shane Dawson, like when he first like hit the YouTube scene. And, like, I used to think some of that shit was funny, like the racist stuff, like, and it's just, like, I look back at it now and I'm, like, disgusted with myself that I found that funny. But it's, like, at the time, you're in this mindset where it's like, oh, well, everybody else thinks it's funny, so I guess it's funny. But it's, like, I watch it now and I'm, like, why did I think this was funny? Like, this is actually disgusting, like, some of the stuff he's saying. Like, and he was a YouTuber for children at the time. Like, I was, like, a young child when I started watching him. So it's, like, the influence that that has on certain people. But I wanted to bring that up as an example because it's like, I feel like in films like this, Drop Dead Gorgeous is another good example of a film that I feel like would not fly today. I don't know if either one of you, I briefly talked about it when I was on your birthday live chat thing with everybody. Erica from Homies of Horror, I think, was the only other person besides me that had watched it. But there's a lot of offensive jokes in that film too that I feel like people would not be okay with now. But it's like you have to put yourself in like this kind of situation where it's like, okay, it's just a movie, like, and it's a joke, like kind of lighten up a little bit. I don't know. Yeah,
there's a level of like, okay, it's a different time now. Not to say that excuses that type of behavior now, but there is a like level where you can say, I can examine this from the viewpoint of when and how it was made. And
Right.
we don't have to continue to be okay with that standard. We can say now, okay, that was offensive. Let's not stand for that anymore, right? So it can be both.
But
Yeah.
can we like the movie still?
Yes,
I think so.
I think so.
I mean, I do too. But I think that that's something.
Yeah, it's a
I know
good question.
There is a comment about I love the movie Bring It On. Okay.
Oh, me too.
I love it.
Me three.
I love it. And there was one character, the brown-haired character, who's the rebel. She mentions something about the boy being gay. She does not say it in a politically correct way. Of course, at the time, that wasn't what you did. That wasn't the verbiage, right?
Yeah.
And so now when you hear it, you're like, and then it moves on. That's not like the whole point of the story, but so there's you'll find this in a lot of different movies where nowadays you'll watch them and you still love them, but you also do exactly if you're listening to this, go to YouTube and see the face that Tawny just made, because it's exactly how you feel, right? You still love it for what it was, and then you're like, oh, okay.
You're like, that joke did not age as well as I thought it did.
Yes, exactly.
We hit
But
the
when you
R
brought-
word, I think, like 5 times in this movie, and each time we're like,
Oh.
ugh.
Yeah, like when she's like, when she's at the bar and he's like, "Sup, Jennifer?" and she's like, "What's up, Craig?" and she's like, he thinks he's hot, he thinks he's good enough for me, and that's why he's in retard math. Yeah, it's just so.
Yes.
And then the whole, like when you were talking about like how she brings up like the gay word in a derogatory sense, like Chris Pratt's part in this whole fucking movie, like he's like look at the eyeliner, they look like a bunch of fagos.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but I just, to kind of wrap that up, I do think this is just me, and maybe this is, I mean, I could have my mind changed on this. I'm not, but I just choose to believe that there is, you can still like something and identify what is problematic about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I agree.
I really like that, Tawny. I really like that, because I think sometimes sometimes you don't feel like you can.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that, because I agree. I think you can identify that at the time when this was created, this was the mindset. And I think there's power in that as well. I think there's power in having a history, a documented history of what was acceptable in each time period and how we've progressed. I think that's very powerful. So I don't think people should dismiss
Wipe
or
it.
destroy or wipe it clean
Yeah.
because of that, because I think it's important to have.
Because that's where we are now. Like and the thing about Jennifer's Body is they're from a small town in Michigan.
Yeah.
Is it Michigan? They're from a small town in Michigan, and I think it's Michigan. I feel like that's how small town mentality is with a lot of people. Like I lived in Kansas for 2 years, for example, and a lot of people down there are still like stuck in that like highly religious like state of mind where it's like no gays. Like there's they're like, my parents were very weary about me moving to Kansas with them and like being openly gay out there, because they're like, there are still people out there that will kill you for being gay. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah,
And
terrifying.
like that's how, that's where I go when I think about, Drop Dead Gorgeous, for example. That takes place in a small town in Minnesota, and it's like you have to put yourself in that situation where it's like that's how people really think. So it's like you can't get offended for some of the stuff that they say in this film, because it's like that's what people actually say in these kind of places. So it's like it's also the environment that they're in. It's not just the time frame that it took place in, but it's also
Great
the
point.
environment.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's why I don't get super offended when I watch films like this, because it's like, okay, well, I would expect to go somewhere like this and hear people say stuff like that.
And
I
think it's important to preserve that, so that we can see, so that we can look back and see like, oh,
There's been progress. Yeah, like this is why this doesn't do us good. Like this is where we need to move from. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because a lot of times those movies are showing, sometimes, not always, because there's movies that are just created in that time period, and that was just the normal lingo, the normal way of thinking. And then there's movies that are created that kind of reflect what that was, and also how damaging that was. So,
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I like that. I like that point that you brought up, Felicia. It's very, very good point. I liked it.
Do you guys like
Yes.
this philosophical discussion that we've had?
We are hardcore right now.
We are just covering all bases
All
here.
the
We're
bases.
covering feminism, sexism,
Yeah.
racism.
Small town versus big city.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yep.
We're going to change the world with this episode.
I know. Well, I also love like the effects in this film too, because I read somewhere that they like did a lot of practical stuff. So like when Megan Fox pukes all over the kitchen floor, that was like actual, like it was real. Like they actually had a tube next to her face.
Yeah, it
and
was
they just,
chocolate
like,
syrup.
chocolate syrup, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That looked good.
So a lot of it was practical, and a lot of, oh my gosh, the cinematography in this film is good too.
It was really beautiful. It catches you by surprise because you just have this movie and then there's this shot. Just the way the flame is or the whatever's dripping off the hair or the like whatever it is, it's beautiful.
Like the whole sequence when she's swimming in the lake after she kills the football player guy. That whole scene is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
that place looks beautiful wherever they shot that at, but it's just so many beautiful shots in this film, and like that's why I don't understand like why this film like is was so hated at the time, because like even if it wasn't what people expected when they went in and watched it, like it's still a good film. Like it's a good looking film. Like the actors are great. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
To throw in my like the couple that I picked up on was I loved that shot of the BFF necklace hitting the ground in slow motion and like spiraling. I was like straight up, how many times did they have to get this, like shoot this to get this shot? Like it is so good and perfect.
so beautiful.
It almost seems like it should be fake, but I think it's a real shot. It's just, I'm like, how
yeah.
many times did they have to do this? And I love that scene of Jennifer falling in slow motion back onto the bed. Beautiful. Love those.
Yeah. And then
I
you
agree.
get that shot of Needy in front of the bar in front of the bar, and then it like blows up behind her. It looks so fucking cool.
Yes.
Like-
Oh, that also made me laugh. It was very funny, like in a fucked up way. Like they're just, I feel like that's what I picked up on. Some of the lines were funny, but there were like these really funny like shots and like comedic timing just with the editing that like I just was dying. Like when he
So
spits
great.
out the gum when he's singing, or he starts to, like goes to start to sing and just spits out the gum into nowhere. I don't.
Yep.
That just got me. I laughed so hard.
Can I ask you guys a question? 2 questions. The first question. So when I first watched it, I thought that the band was somehow supernatural or possessed, and they caused the place to burn down. But then later, there's just a bunch of guys wanting to do this ritual to hopefully that the ritual works and they actually do gain power, which they do. So what? Did they cause that fire? They seem like regular guys that were going to do this sacrifice and hope that by doing this, because they read about it, that it would give them power? Or they were these supernatural beings that, yes, we need to do this ritual because this is the next step. Can you tell me about that?
The second time I watched this, I felt like, and I wrote this down as one of my notes, I thought, oh my God, is Needy powerful from the very beginning? Because Needy is watching the band with such intensity.
Yeah.
And she had just overheard that conversation and she's like mad about the fact that they're like trying to prey upon Jennifer. I wondered, is it Needy who actually starts the fire?
That's an interesting, I've never thought of it that way. Like I've never thought of it that way, like because you get the shot of her and Jennifer watching the band and they're like holding hands for a moment, and then Jennifer lets it go, and she kind of gives Jennifer like this dirty look. It's almost like a bitch, like it's weird, like that scene.
Jealous.
Very jealous. Like it's just weird, like the way she looks at Jennifer is like, ooh, looks could kill right now, because she's just like, bitch, did I say you could let go of my hand?
Yeah.
So you bring up a very good point, but I always thought that maybe obviously, since this really is real in the movie, of course, and whatever they did work because they became famous afterwards, maybe since they made a deal with the devil beforehand, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Like whatever evil forces were surrounding this whole thing were the ones that started the fire. I think I've always believed that it was that, or maybe one of the band members subtly started it or something while people were distracted. I don't know, because they seem to have some sort of power on Jennifer in that scene too, because she goes into a trance-like state too, like when she's watching them. And it seems like everybody else in the bar does too. Like some of the people that are watching, because how would no one else notice that except for Needy? Because Needy's the one that sees it, but everyone else is just kind of like, oh, just kind of standing there, like nothing's happening. And it's like, I'm a very observant person, so I would have noticed that too. Like if I was standing there, I would have been like, I don't think that's supposed to be doing that. Like, you notice a couple of people that see it, like the bartender guy, like he happens to see it when it's like going across like but it's like no one else seems to notice either. So it seems like everybody in this bar except for Needy is like under some sort of like spell. Up until like shit starts getting real and then people are running out. But yeah.
You know what? I can see like both of your points are really, really good. And for that, I can see that because they had all the witchcraft books inside of their van and they had like this other stuff. So maybe they had been dabbling in other stuff. Like this was like the ultimate thing that they dabbled in. So maybe the other stuff that they had dabbled in, whatever it was, actually worked to give them such fervor that if we do this, we are set. We're going to be famous to go to jump. Because then everyone was like pretty full into it and they wavered a little, but he's like, no, look, this will work. Probably because they did other stuff. So there's probably that whole element of the passion, the energy of the room that caused it. Okay, that's
you guys sold me. You sold me.
Yeah, you guys sold me too. What about so I thought when obviously Jennifer died, because she's in jail. But I thought that when she had killed, so I just wanted to verify that because I thought when she would like stab through the heart that the demon would be released. I didn't realize that she would die. So she is dead. And that's it.
Which is kind of sad.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
It's like she didn't deserve that.
Yeah. I mean, but it's interesting because it's like you get this like dynamic that they're best friends throughout the whole film, but Needy brings up stuff that it's like, were they ever friends though? Like was this a friendship that like only Needy thought was a true friendship? And like I feel like in the sense when you think about like some of the stuff she says, because like the part where she is battling Jennifer at the pool when she's like, used to steal my Barbies, used to spill stuff on my bed, and then she's like, and now I'm stealing your boyfriend. At least I'm consistent. Like it seems like they've always had issues in their friendship that Needy was willing to look past because she was so like infatuated with this friendship and this connection that she had with Jennifer. So it almost to me makes it seem like Jennifer was never like all that invested in Needy to begin with. She was just somebody that like, you know, as you said, you brought up a point earlier that like she uses people for her advantage. Like it seems to me that she was using Needy in some way, shape or form. Like, because she even goes as far as like telling her what she's allowed to wear and what she's not allowed to wear. Like I'm allowed to show, my something, but never, or my stomach, but never my cleavage. That was Jennifer's trademark. That's what she says. Like, and stuff like that. So it's like, it seems to me like it was always a one-sided friendship, even from the beginning. Because like in the sandbox scene even, so she's like, why do I always have to play ugly Ashley or whatever? Because they're playing dolls. And like, it just always seems like Needy was the one that was always there for Jennifer. But I feel like if it was on the other foot, Jennifer wouldn't be there if Needy needed her.
Yeah.
And Needy was the only one that truly needed her. And that's why she kept her around. Because she was the only one that truly loved her and admired her and didn't just use her.
Yep. For what she had. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like even the nickname Needy is really mean, like really passive aggressive, like saying needy, like, cause she brings it up and she's like, stop being so needy. Like you're always like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so that's why you call her needy is because she's, obviously that's not her real name in real life. Like, but that's the name that Jennifer coined for her. And it's like, that's kind of mean actually, if you think about it, like calling somebody that. I don't know. Yeah, the whole relationship with her and Jennifer like is not as perfect as it seems.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say at least not in our minds when we're watching it.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing is, though, Needy is really not a needy character.
No, she's not. Like, and I'm glad that they went with the choice of making her more of an independent, like, character, because I just feel like it would have been kind of, not annoying per se, but it just like, I don't know, I just feel like it wouldn't have made her a more likable character to make her more needy. Like I feel like she is needy in the sense that she like depends on Jennifer for like her friendship, but aside from that, she's very independent in all other aspects. Like she doesn't depend on Chip for things. Like, it's not like she's always going to Chip for. I mean, she talks to Chip quite a few times in this film about Jennifer, but it's not like she's like needing him for anything, and it's not like she's needing her mother for anything. It's not like she's needing, it's like it's only ever Jennifer that she like truly ever like needs something from, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they went with that choice of not making her a super needy character, just because I feel like it would have made her character less likable, at least to me, because I feel like that would have been annoying to like sit there and listen to her be like, oh, but I need this and I need that and I'm so helpless, blah blah blah. Like, it just would have been annoying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, I don't know, I just love this movie. I could talk about this movie with you guys for like hours.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, there's just so much to like get into with it, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk. We could talk for another hour just about that, like the female relationship dynamic and competition versus codependence versus friendship. Like, what does all of that look like? Like, we could go on forever and ever. I do feel like, oh, maybe there's like a fucking Jennifer's Body Part 2, but
Ooh, I would be so down for that. You know I'm down. So
yes.
I'm just trying to think of more funny lines that I just love from this film. Like the whole scene where they're battling in the bedroom, like before she kills Jennifer, and she's like, "Do you know what this is? This is used for cutting boxes." And she's like, "Do you shop for all of your weapons at Home Depot? God, you're butch."
Yes.
And then she's like, "God, you're butch." I love it.
Yes, I agree. That was great.
Oh, also
man.
on that, I think one of the other things that the first time I watched this movie I didn't love was when she stabs her and she goes, "My tit." And she goes, "No, your heart."
Your heart.
And again in this Diablo Cody, or no, maybe it wasn't that one. Maybe it was the Faculty of Horror episode. They talk about like, no, it was Diablo Cody, because she talks about,
Yeah.
okay, no, I, as a person who wrote this script, am directing you to look at Jennifer's body. Like, that is what you're doing. And so you're so focused on her body, and that's what Jennifer is saying is like, she's pointing to her breasts. And Needy goes, "No, your heart." And she's like, it's really more about her. It's about her emotions, not her body.
Yep.
She's more than just her body.
Yes.
Yep.
She doesn't even realize she's more than just her body.
And it's kind of sad when you think about it that way, because it's like almost like life imitating art in a sense. Like, this is like, I feel like this is Megan Fox in this film, like, and this is like kind of her like metaphorical way of saying that this is how I've been treated this entire fucking time I've been an actress. Like, this film, I feel like, and the fact that they even like puts lines like, "This is PMS is made up by the boy run media to make us seem crazy." Like, it just seems like a passive aggressive like jab at like all of these like boy run like men in Hollywood that just think they have a say over everything. Like, I just feel like this movie is just like a one big passive aggressive jab, like basically saying fuck you to that like mentality, you know?
So self-aware. And it's amazing that all of these people who worked in marketing or whatever watched this movie and just did not fucking get it, even though it's written right there. And the only way that I feel like you walk away from this movie and you feel like you hate this is if you didn't think more than 2 seconds about what is right in front of you, which is fair. Sometimes we all watch things passively and, you know, whatever. So I'm not saying if you left this movie and you didn't like it on the first watch that you're not thinking about it.
Right.
Well, that is what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? Like, but I'm not judging.
Yes.
But I'm not judging you for that, because you should go back and watch it a second time. Let me be clear. I'm not like, it's cool that you do that, but go back and watch it a second time and think a little bit more about it. Like, it really is, there's so much to it. And
yeah. And I feel like people think that this film is like just a mindless film that you can watch for 2 hours and turn your brain off, but it's really not that. Like, it's much deeper than that. Like, it really touches on that like really deep meaning of friendship. Like, you brought that up when she talks about like the tit part, like where she's like, "No, your heart." Like, that is Needy's way of letting this friendship go. Like, when the necklace falls, like, that is like she's cutting ties with this lifelong friendship that she's had with this girl for so long. And to me, like, that scene is really sad. Like, it's actually really, really sad, because it's like they've been friends for so long, and it's just like, I put myself in that situation, and there's people that I was friends with in high school that I was like, I'm going to be friends with this person forever. Like, we've grown up together, and I don't even talk to half the people that I grew up with in high school anymore. And it's like, you know, you grow up and you realize like certain things that are important, and you realize that those people in your life back then in high school weren't as important to you as they are, or were more important to you then than they are now.
right. And it hurts Jennifer. You can see she stops fighting. The moment
Yep.
that necklace gets ripped off, Jade even was watching this part of the movie with me, and he goes, well, do you think maybe some of her power was in that necklace? And I think that's
so.
an interesting observation, because the moment it comes off, and I think that's one way to read it, and I think the other way is she's so taken aback by,
Yeah.
oh, Needy doesn't need me anymore.
Yes. Because
And she's
in the
so
book,
shocked.
Yeah, in the book, there was the book she was reading that the power is when they're weak. But what they're talking about, when they're weakest is when they're hungry and blah, blah, blah. And when they're most powerful is when they have fed. But for Jennifer, her weakness was that power of that friendship
Yep.
between her and Needy. I don't know, I'm just saying, based off what you're saying, Tawny, is that because she like they even stabbed her in the pool and everything, but it was
Yeah.
soon as that necklace came off.
Yeah.
That is when that was her weakness.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is like we talked about for a minute how Needy seems like she needed Jennifer, but it seems like Jennifer needed Needy more than
Way
Needy
more.
needed her.
Way
Yeah.
more.
And that's very apparent in that scene, because it's like I love that you mentioned that, because I wanted to bring that up too, because I noticed that as well. Like as soon as she rips that necklace off, she goes falling back to the bed. Like so it's just like I feel like some of her power was like holding this thing over Needy's head, like being like, oh, you can't survive without me. You're nothing without me. I'm pretty, I'm popular. Like she even says it when they're at the pool. She brings up that whole like line of her when she's like, back when you were socially relevant, and because she's like, I was snowflake queen. How can I be insecure? And then she's like, yeah, 2 years ago when you were socially relevant. So it's like everything that Needy is saying, like, I think this is hitting Jennifer like in a specific way, because she's like, oh shit, like I think Needy's realizing she doesn't need me anymore. And that's, I love that whole like deeper meaning of that whole scene. Like it's not just like this fight scene where they're like going at it and trying to kill each other. It's more deep than that. I don't know. Like it really, really touches on like what friendships and relationships mean to people. Like I feel like whenever I get out of a really bad friendship that I've been friends with, it feels like I got stabbed in the fucking heart. Like it hurts.
Yeah.
Like it and I feel like that was what they were trying to say in that scene. Like they were trying to portray in that scene, like that's a stab to the heart. Like you're like, we're done. Like we're not friends anymore. F you. Like, and so for Jennifer, that was like, oh,
Yeah. The fatal blow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I also love the ending of this film too. Like when she, cause they throw, when they
We haven't even
sacrifice,
talked about it.
yeah. Well, cause at the beginning of the film, she talks about how like Devil's Kettle is just, it's not as fucked up as it sounds. It's just named after like this like whirlpool type thing. And like they throw things in there and nothing ever comes out. But then at the end of the film, or when they're sacrificing Jennifer after they get done, Adam Brody's character throws the knife into the whirlpool. And then when Needy's walking along the side of the road, she finds it like on the side of the road in like the gutter, and she picks it up. And it's like along with all those balls that the scientists threw down there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I think she looks gorgeous in this scene, by the way. Like Amanda Seyfried is so pretty. Like she is gorgeous. Can I gush about her for a second?
Yes.
I just think she's so gorgeous. Like I'm obsessed with her. Like ever since her Mean Girl, like I didn't know that Mean Girls was her very first role. But that was like what like her first movie was. And so like just ever since then I've been a fan of her. Like I just love her and everything that she's in. But anyway, she gets picked up by that guy and he's like, where are you off to? And she's like, oh, I'm just following this band around the country. And he's like, and then she's like, tonight's gonna be their final show. Like I love that.
Me
because
too.
Then she
Yes.
like and that whole ending scene is so like satisfying. It's like, yes. I almost wish you could have seen it though, because it only shows like the aftermath and like the crime scene photos, but I really wish they would have had that scene where she just destroys them. I would have loved to see it.
Me too. Because I do love a good revenge movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like
I kind of like both. Like, you could have had a whole nother scene where she's destroying everybody, or you have that with the rolling credits, that gist of that
Yeah.
they got what they deserved, and which was awesome.
We didn't
Yeah.
need it, but it would have been fun to watch. Like, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, 100%.
that's exactly why I love the I Spit on Your Grave films. Like I can't watch like the beginning parts of those films. They're too much for me, but I love watching the revenge parts because I'm just like, ooh, yes, kill them, give them what they deserve. And it makes me sound like a psycho,
No.
but it's like,
Nah.
I'm
you
with
know.
you.
Yeah, but it's so gratifying, like, that she, like, they get theirs at the end, and then you get that, like, one final shot of her walking down the hallway when the girls are all running up to the hotel room, and then you just hear them start screaming, and then you, like, get that, like, pause frame on her face. Like, it's just so, like, I love the way they end this film. Like, it's just so chilling, because I feel like it kind of opened it up for a sequel, but not really, because I read something that they were making plans to do a sequel, but canceled. So, but I think it's good enough as a standalone film. It doesn't need one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I also love when people get their revenge, even if it's just in, like, if the whole time I'm watching the show or the movie, I'm like, oh, you're such a hypocrite. Oh my God. And I'm like writhing, right? Because I just really overly, jeez, I need to relax. And I'm going through it. And then someone gets up and goes, and yeah, in your face sort of thing. I will legit go, yeah, fuck yes! Like, I love it. I love it.
You're just like, woo!
Yes.
I love how passionate we all are in this episode. I fucking love it.
Yes. I know. We are obviously real stoked about a lot of different things.
Yes, this is true. We have a lot of passion. All three of us, a lot of passion.
Okay, so let's move into rating this movie, this bad boy.
Yeah.
Michael, do you want to go first?
Michael rate first. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give this film a solid 5.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Because I think it is a very well-made film. I think it's a very well-written film. I think all of the, underlayered things that they touch upon, like such as like girl friendships, relationships in high school, like, and I wanted to bring up this point earlier, but I kind of forgot, so I'm glad I remembered it. But I don't know if you guys listened to the Podcast on Elm Street episode where we did Ginger Snaps.
No, and I haven't seen that movie, so I didn't want to listen to the episode.
Oh, no, that's good. But we talk about how Ginger Snaps is almost a lot like Jennifer's Body. Like, in a sense, there's even a scene where the main character of Ginger walks down the hallway just like Jennifer does in Jennifer's Body. Like, it's literally almost a shot for shot. Like, it almost looks exactly the same. But these movies both touch upon, like, the concept of women in high school growing up and becoming adults, and like the transition from childhood to womanhood, basically. And I feel like both of these movies do that really great. This one specifically is more subtle, I feel like, but I still get the gist that it's like, talking about like what women go through when they're transitioning into like, full on adulthood. But I just find the concepts of this film fascinating. I think the one-liners are hilarious, as I said. The characters are all great. I feel like this is like a perfect cast of people. Like, I wouldn't cast anybody else in this film.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, everybody was casted so perfectly.
Perfect.
Like,
I agree.
Even the side characters, like, even like the small characters that are only in it for like, 5 seconds, they're all so good. But yeah, I'd have to give it a 5 out of 5. I think it's fantastic.
Okay. Solid.
How about you, Tawny?
Oh, am I next? I don't know.
Yeah.
Felicia, I want to know what yours is. No, I want you to go first. No.
Next. Shit. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. I'm going to give it a 4.25. So that is, I was going to give it a 4, but after our conversation and like digging deep into it, I raised my score. 4.25. Yeah. And that's higher than the majority of films I've rated a 4 that I really, really loved as well. So
wow.
That's what I give it.
I'm impressed, Felicia. Look at you, girl.
I know. I agree totally. I came in thinking that I was going to do a 4. And then through our conversation, I was like, fuck, I got to give this a better score than that, though. Like, 4 is great for me also. Like, those are movies that I fucking love.
I mean, there's only 5 fucking scores.
But I am going to bump mine up to a 4.5.
Nice.
And it's just because there's so much to this movie. There's so much to it. And I think I put it on, another 4.5 that I did is like Train to Busan. And there's just a lot to it. And I like it for different reasons, but I also don't think it's like inherently scary. So that's why I'm not bumping it up to a 5. I don't have those nostalgic ties to it. And there is, I'm not going to lie to you guys, there's a couple moments that I do wish the dialogue had been reeled in just a little bit. And I'm a big believer. I mean, Felicia and I got into a heated debate about Halloween and the dialogue in that movie. I'm a big believer in having insane dialogue
Yeah.
because they're teenage girls, but I do think there was a couple moments that just were like, okay, now it feels like we're in an alternate universe. Like
I
now
agree.
it just is a little bit too
but
much.
it was the time. With your
Yeah.
whole lecture about the time in the beginning of this episode.
Well, I kind of agree with you, Tawny, because there is that one line towards the beginning of the film when they're walking out of the house and she's like, "Eat my ass, Chip. You're Jello because you're not invited. You're lime green
Yes.
Jello and you can't even admit it to yourself." Like I don't like that line.
Exactly.
I think it's really cheesy.
She hits
But
Jello 3 times or something, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's not even what people would say. They'd say jelly. Like you're showing your cards a little bit that it feels like it's not exactly what people would say. And the other one that gets me also is the monostat. Like,
what's that monostat? Hey, Vagisil, that whole thing. Yeah.
I
think the only one that got me was that plugging situation.
That's another one for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know because the Jello jelly thing, I don't know. I didn't even use again, I was in college when this movie came out, so I don't know. But the plugging situation, I don't know. I wasn't again like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But I was kind of like,
We were like, ooh, yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, now that we're on the subject of like lines again, can I say a few more that I think are just fucking gold in this film? Okay, so there's the one where she's arguing with Chastity in class because they're talking about how like Low Shoulder is going to donate 3% of the profits to families that have faced like loss or whatever. She's like, what about the other 97%? And she's like, that's just crass, right? She's like, crass, schemy, exploitative, scummy. And she's like, Chastity's like, Low Shoulder are American heroes. And she's like, no, they're not. They didn't help anybody out of the fire. And she's like, but it's true. I saw it on the Wikipedia. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yes.
And then the whole... Oh, sorry.
No, keep going.
No, you go.
I was just going to say there's really great moments that really hit the nail on the head. And then there are moments that you're like, okay, well, nobody would say that.
Nobody would say that in real life. But then there's the whole line where she what's that other line that she said that Jennifer says? She says something really fun. Oh, she's like he's into maggot rock, he wears eyeliner, my dick is bigger than his. Like when she's talking about Colin. Yeah. That whole man.
I love that too.
Oh, and then the part where Chip calls Needy and she's like, I can't hear you. And he's like, yeah, it's because Camille is playing the piano. Camille, stop. And she's like, you stop. Eat your penis cheese or whatever she says.
Yes. Yeah, I almost rewound that to go like, what did she say to him?
Yeah. And then the part with the mom with Kiki too, or not Kiki, but Camille, when Amanda Seyfried's character goes to check on Chip to see if he left for the dance or whatever, and her mom's like, yeah, he already left. And she's like, close your legs. She's like, you don't want people to see your Kiki or whatever she says to her.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. See, this is another one that
But I wonder though, I just rented it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if it wasn't like the version that you have.
Oh yeah, maybe that was the thing
that as well.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it's so subtle. Like they're like Tawny said earlier, like they're like kind of blink if like you miss it if you blink type of moments. But it's like she's at the door and like Camille's sitting on the stairs behind her and her legs are like open and she's wearing like a skirt and her mom's like, Camille, close your legs. No one wants to see your Kiki. It's just these ridiculous like little lines that are just sprinkled throughout this film that I just like, oh my gosh, so amazing.
And to be fair, in devil's advocate against my own self, who has a problem with some of these lines, let me just say that like some of it is going to be hit or miss, right? If you go out on a limb and you try to do something specific, some of it's going to land and some of it is not, and so that's totally fine. Like it just is what it is, and so that's yeah. Sorry,
I just wanted to throw out a few lines because we were back on the subject of like some of the lines that we don't like, and I was like, well, can we talk about a few that I do like?
No, I think it's a
few more that I do love.
It's a great thing to bring up because again, like, you know, my dick is bigger than his. That is something that I would have said when I was a teenager in relation to somebody else, for sure. So it's some of it is so fucking spot on. Right? And you're just like, oh God, this is me as a teenager. It makes me want to almost go back and watch Juno because I feel like when I watched Juno, I was like, oh my God, this is so quirky, ridiculous. But also like very realistic in a way. And now I wonder if we went back and watched it, if we'd be like, okay, like sometimes, but maybe not, you know?
Yeah. And I love Diablo Cody's like style of writing too. Like she
Yeah.
just has like such a unique.
It's so quotable. Is it not? Like, you know
Yes.
all of the lines to the, and I even, the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, you know, hell is a teenage girl. I wasn't always this cracked. Like, there's just like every 30 seconds, it feels like there's a quotable moment, and that's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Michael,
Yes.
where can everyone find you?
Oh, well, you can find me at the We Love Horror podcast. I'm on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to your podcast, really. And then on Instagram at We Love Horror Podcast. And my email is welovehorrorpod@gmail.com. And please don't hesitate to leave me a 5-star rating and review.
So I'm glad you remind me, because a lot of times, and this is for everybody listening, that we keep reminding it at the end of the episode. So if you're like, oh my God, I wish they'd stop saying that, it's because you don't think about it. Like, there's a lot of podcasts that I hit my microphone. There's a lot of podcasts I love.
Yeah.
And I subscribe. So because I want to hear what you guys are doing. I want to, so I subscribe to the podcast. And the second thought is to review. And we tell everybody all the time to review. And even for me, it's not first of thought. So that's why we remind everybody. But yeah, I'm going to leave you a review if I didn't already. And this isn't because like I feel guilty or anything. You guys need to go hear the We Love Horror podcast, because I truly do. Michael is a phenomenal human being. He's absolutely lovable and smart as fuck. And his episodes are awesome. So I will definitely leave you a review, and everybody else listening should as well.
You guys are gonna make me cry, because it's like, I don't know, like I never thought like a year ago that like starting this podcast, like I would meet so many amazing people like you guys. So I'm tearing up. I'm gonna compose myself, but I just love you guys so much. Like, I adore you, and thank you so much for letting me come on here. Like, it means like the world to me. So like, especially like when I had my little like hiatus, like I wasn't sure like when I was gonna come back, and like if I came back, like if people were still gonna want to listen to me or like be on my podcast. So like, it just means so much to me that you guys would, I don't know, just be so amazing. Like, not only with like the podcast, but just being such great friends in general. Like, I'm so, like, I consider you and Tawny like lifelong friends at this point. Like, I feel like we're going to be like in our 80s, 90s, like still talking about horror movies on our podcast. Like,
yes.
What did you think about
What
this?
did you say, Michael? What was that? I didn't hear.
What? Can you speak up? I don't have my hearing aid turned on very loud.
Yes, I love it.
Oh my God. But no, I fucking seriously, in all seriousness, I love and adore you both. Thank you so much for letting me be on here. It just it means the world to me. And for all of the listeners of your guys' podcast, you guys are going to be on mine next weekend. So
yes. Yeah.
We're so excited.
I know.
So excited.
I just need to add on to this. So thank you so much for being on here, obviously, and we agree completely. You are such a fucking gem of a human being. Like, it is so, it's actually pretty like weird to meet somebody that you immediately connect with and you go like, oh my God, I feel like we've been friends for our entire lives, actually. Yeah. And we will be friends for the rest of our lives. And that is what we have both experienced with you. You're amazing. If you like our podcast, definitely go check out We Love Horror podcast, because it is fucking phenomenal. And Michael, like, listen, let me just give it up. You have some insane horror movie knowledge. Like, I was like intimidated as fuck about listening to you. Like, I was like, how are we going to go on his podcast and talk about, I was like, this motherfucker's talking about movies I've never even heard of in my entire life. So I'm just giving it up. I'm just adding to the pile. You're fucking phenomenal. Thank you for coming on here and bringing us such an amazing movie to talk about.
Yeah, we're honored.
You're the fucking best. That's all.
Thank you.
We're honored to have you on the show for sure.
You guys are going to make me tear up again. I just like got back to the point where I wasn't going to cry, and now I'm like,
don't even compose yourself. I want to see you cry. Yes. I want to see it.
Well, you kind of heard it on my New Year's special episode, but I got it together. But like, yeah, it was just, it's just so, I don't know, because I've just gone through such a journey this past year, like of self-discovery and like really like learning to, I mean, I've still got a long way to go, but I've still, I'm learning to love myself more and more every day. Like, cause I've had a pretty low opinion about myself my whole life, but it's just like hearing it from other people and like, and just feeling like, what I am doing is like really affecting people in a positive way and like really bringing other people together is what is really the biggest thing that I've taken away from this podcast. Not even so much that I get to sit on a podcast and talk about what I love. It's more so for me, the friendships and the relationships and the people that I've like reached out to and like have brought into this, you know, it's just, I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love how unified we all are. It's just so fun to me.
And they all love you so much and have such like the highest things to say about
yeah.
you. This is, it is really cool, this community that we're a part of. You know, and other people might go, horror movies, horror community? Ew. You have no idea. It's way nicer than your, I don't know, community you're a part of. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it.
And the coolest community you could be a part of, too.
Yes,
so
truly.
we're kind of the
nice.
shit.
We are the shit. We're kind of the shit.
Not to quote Needy, but we're kind of the shit.
We're kind of the shit.
We're kind of the shit.
That's for damn sure.
Oh, yes.
Man.
God, okay, so what are we watching next week?
Next week we're watching The Orphanage.
Oh,
and The
yeah.
Orphanage was a recommendation from one of our fans, Bernardo. And if you guys haven't, go check out our latest YouTube episodes, our YouTube videos, because Bernardo, he literally is like he's on the podcast with us. He leaves this long review of the things he liked, the things he didn't, and he scores it. So he watches it, and then it's like he's a part of the episode. So one of the ones he recommended was The Orphanage. So we're going to watch that next.
You can find us everywhere online, on Instagram, it's kind of our hub, 2 Chicks and a Horror Flick. And you can do 2chicksandahorrorflick@gmail.com. We have a website. It's just like, type it in. You'll find us. 2chicksHF on Twitter, though.
We're literally like,
one.
just type it in there and you'll find us wherever you want to find us. Except for Twitter, you do have to say 2 chicks. What did we do?
HF.
I always forget. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
And we'd love a review, and we already talked about that, so I'll just wrap it up. And we hope you have such a good night. No nightmares.
Bye, guys. Am I supposed to say bye?